Welcome along. It is very much a cold open this time round for the Hurling Pod. This is going to have quite a bit to talk about. Cards across the weekend. We had a Sunday with almost as many red cards as we had goals. Cork nudging Clare toward relegation in Division 1A by hitting the All-Ireland champions for 6 in the game in Ennis. 4 players saw the line in 10 minutes at Nolan Park as Tipperary consolidated top spot, their 9-point win at their rivals Kilkenny. The bull was loose. Shane O'Brien's 1-3, helping Limerick to get them back to winning ways against Galway on Saturday evening. Offaly didn't play this weekend, but they secured promotion from 1B. I can put that at 100% now after what happened at the weekend. While Waterford ran riot in Mullingar, the biggest total that Westmeath have ever conceded in the league, 734 this afternoon. So Saoirse Bulfin's team go down. They're the first team relegated from 1B. They'll be replaced by Down, who beat Kerry this afternoon. And the Daish's promotion hopes, Waterford getting players back. Ozzie Gleeson got his first game time. Tadhg de Burka likely to play against Offaly in 2 weeks' time. Well, it's in their own hands going into that last round. If they avoid defeat against Offaly, they'll be the other team promoted up to Division 1A. And we're also going to have an update from the man himself, Paddy Losty, as well. That'll come a little bit later on. It's new Paddy Losty material, James Skehill. This is not something I expected in the year of 2025.
Well, I think we've reignited the monster again, to be honest. We just clarify, it's Éanna Ryan, not Paddy Losty, yeah. But he's a comedian, and I think, he's delighted to be back on the scene again. He went off there too late, so he'll be probably issuing us some voice notes. I'm going to say weekly, so just stay tuned. If you want a topic, give us a topic. I think, Murph, you were the topic of one there recently.
That was actually that was the one he sent to me in Spain about in 2015 or 2016, I think it was. We were on holidays, and Colin Callanan said, "Do you like Paddy Losty?" Because I'd been putting up pictures of him or something like this, or commented it on social media, and bang, sent me on that one. So that's yeah.
Well, did you have it there by any chance?
Yeah, do you want me to play it before we go to it?
Hold on,
here we go. This is what he said to Murph. Right, here we go.
Paul Murphy wouldn't be fond of winning All Irelands, but when he just go ahead off him very hard. He'll probably win about 45 All Irelands in about 3 weeks. He'll win a man of the match performance and maybe even 10 or 12 All-Stars. And then he'd go home then the morning of the fry on, and he'd go ahead again. He'd take the number 2 shirt off any man's back. Bastards.
I do enjoy particularly All Stars and also the idea of him taking the number two shirt off any man's back.
yeah. Bear in mind, right? So I got that, like I said, about 2016. I was in Spain or somewhere on holidays. I had like an old cheap pint of San Miguel in front of me. Next thing, Colin Callanan sends me on a voice note. What's he sending me a voice note for? And I played that, not expecting that at all, but much appreciated, Dana. My own personalised one.
We're taking all your comments. We'll get into them now in a second, but I do enjoy ones that are like a off-the-ball cross-reference here, which has come in from the club, which says, would 12 Cork lads beat Galway? Obviously directly in reference to the idea that 12 Irish players would beat Wales from our good friends at Off the Ball Breakfast. So by all means, continue to send your questions in and we'll pop them up on screen and the lads will chat about them there. Like, there's just so much to talk about from the weekend. All the red cards, whether they were right decisions or not. I'm sure we're going to get into all of that. What's happened towards the top of the table as well. Can I just let people know what Clare need to do from here if they're going to stay in Division 1A? So it's not confirmed. If they're going to stay up, they need to beat Tipperary in the last round. They need Wexford to beat Limerick in the last round. Limerick will play Kilkenny this week as well. They need Limerick to beat Kilkenny so that Limerick move away from them. And they need to close the scoring gap to the Cats, which sits on 22 points scoring difference at the moment. Where is your percentage at, James Skehill, for Clare to go down, taking all that information into account?
Oh, 200% they're gone. Sorry. Straight up, come on.
Oh, Jesus.
Like if all the results go their way, like closing the gap and the points difference, jeez, that's not going to be simple. Like, so
there's a lot of things there. There's a lot of things that go against
there's too many factors. If it was depending on one match, and Clare were involved in that match, I'd say something. But they're not. Like, so it's tough business. I'm afraid they're consigned to a lower division next year. Am I wrong? Like,
no, like at the moment, no, you're completely right. Like when you're getting into permutations, when there's about 6 permutations on the table that you need to come through, sure, you have to say that it's against you at the moment.
Yeah. Before we dig into the game itself, I knew this was going to happen even. Jason Mullins is here. He's framed it in a different way to some other people in the chat. Genuine question, will Clare make it out of Munster? I think the Shane O'Donnell factor is huge. Look, before we get into this, they would have thought, Murph, in Clare that it was better probably to concede 6:30 against Cork today than for it to happen on the weekend of Easter Sunday when the Munster Championship rolls around. There was a certain feeling of they were heading towards the trapdoor anyway. But can Clare turn it round in the month and a bit that they have left, or are they actually in danger of going out in Munster now?
They can turn it around. Like, Munster for me now is looking far more unpredictable than it was at January 1st this year when you looked at it. Like, if you were looking at it from how Tipperary and Waterford finished last year, okay, Waterford may say that, if one or two things went their way, they would have actually qualified. That's fair enough. They may have happened. But you're saying, what Tipperary is going to turn up. We've seen from the league, Tipperary are looking really good. And no team is going to fancy playing Tipperary at home or away. Waterford are quietly just tipping away there, and they're getting players back. And I wouldn't underestimate Waterford to go well. At the moment, it's just, it's so hard to call. And I know that's one thing, I know plenty of people have been asking us who's going to come out of Munster. That's really one for saving it right till we get to the Munster Championship. But at the moment, brilliant. It's impossible to see.
Good answer.
But no, but it is like, call it now. And it's like,
it's nearly
it's nearly a pity. We have about 40 things to talk about here. We have 92 red cards. We have teams being bet by 20 points. Like, no point in wasting that. Who's getting out of Munster? Save that for a quiet week when they're all off in the Algarve and all this stuff training. We'll figure it out then. But I just think the one thing, I'd say credit to Tipperary. Tipperary have really thrown the cats among the pigeons with this now, because they look like that their form is going to really hold, regardless of what happens for the rest of the league. Can Clare get it back? They can. Absolutely they can. We saw last week, we thought they're going to go down and take a beating off Limerick. They beat Limerick, but then how quickly it turns around, the Cork go and beat them by 15 points. That's the tricky thing about it at the moment is, you can't look at any one team at the moment, bar maybe Tipperary and Limerick coming right to say, yeah, you look like your form is really going well. But Clare can turn around. There's no doubt about it. But it'll be interesting to see. It will be tough without Shane O'Donnell. There's no point in saying anything else otherwise.
Right. Skehill, you take the other end of the pitch here coming in from P-Well 74. So Clare conceded 6 goals today. Limerick could have scored 6 last week as well. What has happened to their defence? Obviously, they were wide open today with Cork.
Not they're very wide open, let's say, but sometimes, don't get me wrong, there's issues with the defence, and Brian Lohan will have to address that. Just their general pace, and even the manner in which they got turned was really concerning. If a man takes the ball in front of you, you cannot let him go around you with such ease that they did today. They were extremely porous, and it wasn't like they were starting, newcomers. They had 5 of their 6 starters. The only guy they were missing was James Ryan on the wing. So this is a seasoned outfit and a seasoned unit. But in the same token, the manner in which the ball was coming in was it's catastrophic. Like, say, Murphy, if you were in cornerback, like, you'd be putting your hair up because, situations where you're trying to mark space and try to mark the man. But the quality ball coming in was just perfect. It was perfect. Like, you couldn't actually, in fairness to the Clare defence, yes, they're porous, but they needed more help. They needed more help especially from the forward unit. I was disappointed in the Clare half forward line and the midfield and how easy Cork worked through them. They worked through them so simply, and it was a case that the delivery zone for Cork was right up in the middle of the pitch, and it was a lovely pop pass into the corners. It was just, it's a dangerous proposition to try and take care of, a man of such quality. Like, take Brian Hayes, for example, and a lovely ball coming right in front of him that's been delivered from 40 yards. So I get how their defence can seem porous. I do, but the manner in which the ball has been allowed to come in is an issue that also has to be addressed by Lohan.
Yeah, no, I think so. And I think, look, as well, some of those players come back in. Like, Conor Cleary looked a little bit rusty today, Murph, as well. Like, he looked like a guy who was only coming back in and maybe didn't have that kind of match sharpness either.
Yeah, well, no, I didn't see the game, so I don't know, but I'd completely understand it. I was inside Nolan Park today, and TJ was starting, and I was saying to Brian Carroll, I wouldn't be surprised if TJ isn't great here today. Now, look, that's all due respect to TJ, but it's coming back into a game for your first time. Like, if you look at John Conlon, was it the week previous against Limerick? Like, he was just trying to find his feet, hadn't played too many matches. I don't know, was it even his first match he played? But you look at any player come back in, regardless of the caliber, very few players actually just click on their first match back in, because it's one thing training away and you're in the field and you're doing runs and you're doing training matches. To go out then into either a league match or a round robin match is a completely different thing. And every player needs a chance to try and just get their rhythm and get a few games under him. So if Cleary was a little bit off the pace, I wouldn't judge him by that. He'll grow into the year, but I feel from what Skehill was saying there that maybe there was bigger issues than just maybe if Cleary was a little bit ring rusty. It sounds like that there was more of a systematic kind of a thing at play than just.
Well, what happened, Murph? So the Cork half forward line were extremely deep. So you had like the likes of Barrett, Toomey, and Roach, right? They were extremely, extremely deep, and they were picking up the world of the ball around the middle. Okay, Then you had the Cork half-back line were coming out in droves along with the midfield. And in fairness, Malone did okay on Fitzgibbon for large portions of it, right? But the trouble is they were working out through the middle. And then they had the chance to look up, right? The Cork opposition, or Cork players had a chance to look up and just pop a lovely ball into space where there was runners coming from all sides. So the full forward line for Cork were doing super movement, in fairness.
Yeah.
But when you couple that with the easiest of balls being delivered, I mean, how do you stop it in one sense, right? But yes, Cork man now gets the ball in the full forward line, but the manner in which they got through the defence, like take Hayes' goal, take Shane Barrett's first goal, or take Dalton's 2 goals. The way he got them, it was just far too, I suppose, easy, way too easy. And you'll see it yourself. Look, you'll see it yourself when you go through the highlights, and you'll come back to us and go, yeah, you were right, because there was no real aggression. And flip around, the Cork backs were nasty today. Real nasty, which I like to see myself. I like to see Tommy means he's fucking hanging off lads. We had in fairness, we had a discussion last year, or the year previous, where Cork played Kilkenny in a league game, and we actually made reference to the fact that Cork gave away no free in the Kilkenny forward line. Whereas that now is completely gone. Yeah, you've got some nasty operators, which I love to have in the Downies, Tim O'Mahony, like O'Leary, O'Connell. They were all. They're all ready for a fight today. That's the truth of it. They're ready for a fight, and they hung off the Clare forwards, and it showed. Whereas the Clare lads today, they were 3 yards off. But they were 3 yards off in the sense that they have to get up to championship pace. This will take time. So there's no cause for concern. It's a forewarning for sure. But there's a little bit of just rustiness, is what I'd say, in fairness. And rustiness together. Cleary's first day back. Jim Ryan is to come back. Taylor's back from an injury, obviously. So things have to get rolling again for them.
Yeah. Skehill, obviously your assessment of Cork here, right? So I saw Catherine had a comment up there, and a few people have made the point that, Cork, like, they've really gone kind of hard at this season, and now they're probably going to go, you would think, really hard at trying to get to the league final and maybe get a bit of silverware early on in the season. Like, would you have any concern at how well Cork are going, that this could be an early peak? Or do you think this is actually, as we talked about the last couple of weeks, so I think it was 11 starters from the All-Ireland final last week against Kilkenny. Yeah. You then get a bit out of Dermot Healy, and he has a really big performance. And again, a lot of the main guys are coming to the fore there this afternoon against Clare as well. Like, where's your assessment of where Cork are at now? We've seen them on telly, I think, was it 3 times now during the league? Yeah,
and in fairness, they're a very exciting and entertaining team to watch, to be fair. I love the way they move the ball around. They move it with extreme athleticism and pace, which, again, we love as hurling supporters. Are they peaking too early? I don't think they fit their ceiling at all. Like, I think that there's more in the team. I do think they'd have rathered, if you ask them themselves, they'd rathered a 3 or 4 point victory today as opposed to 15, whatever the hell it was. You know what I mean?
15, yeah.
And it's just going to add a little bit of fodder for Clare come the championship game on April 20th. But I think they're moving fierce nice. And when you consider Healy was it 1-5 last week? I think it was 1-5.
1-5 in play.
And I don't know, is he injured, but I'm taking that he's not. Doesn't get starting today. Which just goes, at times they've an embarrassment of riches. You know what I mean? And like, I know a lot of the under 20 players in the last couple of years, some of them didn't even get a call to the senior panel, who we would class as serious operators. So they've got a really good group. I won't say a peak yet. There's more to them come, and it just adds to what's going to be in 5 weeks' time. Can't wait for it.
A fair few Clare supporters there were saying, like, it's not too much of a concern. You see there from SMACD, you wouldn't be too concerned about them getting relegated. Don't focus on the league, go focus on the championship. Like, we spoke about this a little bit last week on the pod, Murph, that, you have to kind of respect to a certain extent when you've got a team that have been there, done it. And obviously Clare have been, a really good championship team for the last few years. It's not just been a case of winning it last season. You would probably trust this group of players. You would trust Brian Lohan, even with injuries, even without O'Donnell out for the season, that Clare actually can get this shit back on track again.
They can. And a lot of that will go to the fact that you can just look back to the All-Ireland last year, that they won the All-Ireland. You can turn around and say, well, as we won the All-Ireland, less than a year ago, we can get this back on track. Granted, Shane O'Donnell isn't there, but, there's no reason for the rest of the panel not to believe that we can't mount a serious challenge here. So that's all I have to go back to. The one thing I'd say about the league is that, say that before the league. Don't say it at the end of the league when you're now relegated, saying, we don't care about the league either. Like, you either say it before, where I think last year that's a fair statement. This year, I think we've seen every team be fairly competitive or try to be competitive, because that whole thing of the league semi-finals being gone, it kind of allows you to give it more of a tilt. On a kind of a separate note, which is an interesting one, and I don't think this doesn't play into Brian Lohan's preparation or anything, but John Fogarty had an interesting point just about, teams don't want to dawdle around in 1B for too long, because of it costs them about 100,000 a year extra to go down to 1B because of gate receipts. That's simply it. Now, that's not motivation for players or teams, but in terms of preparation for a round robin or for, you know, your Munster Championship, your Leinster Championship, I'm sure Clare will be fine going down. That's no problem. But next year, I'm equally sure that they would rather be playing Limerick, Galway, Tipperary, Cork in preparation for the championship, because if you're bringing through new players, and bearing in mind they will be bringing through, they've had good teams with minor and under 20, they'll be bringing through lads. They would much rather be bringing them through and trying them against Galway and trying them against Tipperary or whatever, than, you know, maybe in 1B where lads potentially get an easier ride if you're part of the Clare team. That's the one thing I would say. So look, it's fair to say that I think Galway or Clare can get the show back on the road. I don't think being relegated will really overly hurt them. But at the same time, it's something you would rather not do. You'd rather not be relegated. You'd rather have better preparation next year. And you'd rather be testing your players, testing their steel against the best other teams. So that's all I'd be saying. Think they'll be perfectly fine. Think they'll be competitive. Think they'll get everything back on the road. But I don't think it's fair to say that they totally don't care about it either.
Yeah. You in a similar boat with that, Skehill? I see you nodding along anyway.
I do, because take the baiting they took today, which is a baiting, but now they go away. It was
it's not your fight.
That's just the terminology I use. Okay,
we'll get to Galway before that gets pointed out.
Don't worry, I'll say the same thing there. But after today, now Lohan has an awful lot of information. He's a huge amount of information both about his players, where they're at, and how they got carved up. So now he can start planning on trying to use that information to fix his team. You know, and when I say fix his team, not major personnel changes, but maybe, you know, start planning your sessions and go into your training plans to counteract some of the things that Cork throw at you, because that's what you're playing in a few weeks' time. You know, so there's I won't say there's a silver lining, but they got an awful lot of information today on how Cork were attacking them, how they got overrun in the middle, how they were poor and porous in defence, how they were wasteful in shooting, you know, and even they were very, let's say, you know, there was no energy in their attack, to be fair. Like when I see teams that go to the sideline shooting over the shoulders, that just shows quite an individual approach as opposed to a team approach. Cork looked way more, you know, group approach, if you know what I'm trying to say. So yeah. I'd say, Clare, are they gone? Not a notion. There's loads of time left here. They're going to park the league, move on, use the lessons they've learned and the lads that they've introduced. Like Rin did okay today. Jack O'Neill didn't play as well as he did last week. So there's still additions to come in, but I can't discount the loss of O'Donnell. It's remiss of me if I don't, because he is on the same level. To be fair, I think Clare people will agree with me here. He's in the same influential level as Tony Kelly. Absolutely. So when you consider what Shane O'Donnell did for that team last year, that's the only little asterisk I have beside them, is who's going to fill his boots, and his boots are massive when you consider the production he produced and how much attention he takes from the opposition. So when people ask me, are Clare going to Ireland, I'd say great chance, but they're missing a super player. It's just like missing O'Kelly, if you ask me. So that's the only little asterisk I have beside them.
Look at you not being reactionary. This is what's meant to be last week. Oh, they've beaten Limerick. They're 100% back. They lose today. They're 100% gone. That's what the people want. They're looking for blood here. They're looking for you saying, no, actually, I'm making a definitive statement based on what happened this afternoon.
No, but see, look what they produced last week. So, it's in them. If they got hammered last week, that'd be Clare, Wexford, and now hammered today. You'd be saying, Wexford, Limerick, and now today you'd be saying, Jesus, there's a bit of trouble here, right? But they managed to fix it. They had a seriously hungry performance last week against Limerick. So it's in them, But then today they were just so dead, flat, they were worked hard during the week, or whatever it is. They trained real hard. The legs were heavy. There was no energy, no buzz anywhere. No buzz in attack and defence. There was no, there's no physical, mental buzz in terms. The only man that came on and gave a bit of a buzz, I think, at the start was Duggan. He was the only man that threw himself around, got him tackles, one freeze, and that was really it, lads. You know what I mean? So they were devoid of a lot of energy and a lot of, as I said, use the word, it was buzz. But it's not to say it can't come back again. Of course it can. You know what I mean? Of course they can. So they just park the league up and move on. That's how they do.
Yeah. For anyone who's watching Paul Murphy at the moment, River Power has made, I think, a false claim here. Murphy is showing off the Ribena. It must be a sponsorship. I don't think you're a Ribena drinker. Are you not a My Waddy loyal guy, no?
Whatever's on the counter, will be honest.
Oh, no, it is Ribena.
No, it's My Waddy in a Smithwick's glass. Yeah. How do you think he could tell that was Ribena by me showing
in the Guinness glass?
Yeah. Mine is My Waddy in a...
Why Smithwick's glass?
I have it in a Smithwick's glass, which I no doubt took from a pub when I had half a pint in it and the taxi was outside, sort of crack. Do you know what I mean?
Drink it. We'll drink it down. Throw it down.
Do you know what? I was probably with Skehill and I was probably double parked with 2 pints and went, I might just bring this one at me now. That's what happened. I'm My Waddy. I'm Aldi My Waddy. That's plug 2 Aldi got in pods this week.
Ooh. So is it actual My Waddy, or is it Germany's best imitation of My Waddy?
No, they have my waddy on the shelf up in Aldi. Yeah. They had. I usually go for the orange, and they didn't have it this week, so I went fake it, blackcurrant. Off we go. I'm adaptable. That's what I'm saying. Well, I just adapt and overcome.
Without meaning to give too much away, by the way, the reason that he's mentioning the fact that he went to Aldi is he got the jam, which he's going to add to eggs tomorrow, because we recorded the members pod before we went live at 8:15. So if you stick around for the members pod, you'll find out what my review was of eggs and jam, which is the James Skehill specialty. The red cards today, Skehill, given that Murph was on the roll back, and we're going to talk about so many different red cards. I don't think there's any disagreement, particularly about the two Clare ones here. So there's a lot of people online talking particularly about the David Fitzgerald one. So is this one bought, or is it a red card? What's your feeling?
I suppose it goes back to what I said in the members pod as well, in the sense that like I'm very big that if you touch the head, you deserve the punishment you're about to get, to be fair, in terms of a red card. I don't like that whatsoever. I don't like touching the head, whether it be a hard arm tackle, a hurl tackle, a shoulder tackle, a head tackle, whatever it is. I don't like that. But in the David Fitzgerald country, the one I'm all for 50-50 duels, tough hurling. I want to see combat. I want to see aggression. I think if we take the aggression out of the game, or even the 50-50 battles where even off the ball kind of stuff, I'm okay with that, And that might be popular with some people, but for me, the Fitzgerald one, it's a dig in the stomach. I get it, right? We've played the game. We can take that. You know what I mean? As long as it's not in below the belt area, that's a different kettle of fish. But for me, that's just two lads who are clashing off the ball. They're pulling and dragging. There's a bit of a jig. Just get on with it. Just get on with it. That's for me, right? But the head above, people will say Duggan's one, that was a bit soft. That's for me is a hard arm tackling to the head. I'm okay with that being a red card. Genuinely am. But the Fitzgerald one, give them 2 yellows and move on. That's what I'd be saying. And that might be popular. That might be what people agree with. They say it's dangerous, but it's a dig in the ribs. We've all got them numerous times. But not that bad. Not that bad, in fairness. So just move on.
Murph, would you have dug a person with the butt end of the hurl at some point? Presume you have at least one.
No, I've never actually. No, I've never dug a person. I'm not sure there's lads out there. You have. You're on the goal.
Absolutely.
How did you dig lads?
Absolutely dig lads. Absolutely. Jesus. Yeah, this is my zone.
Is this up there with you in Boston running out and hitting the wrong man when you were playing Dublin? Is that type of territory?
That's a long story as to why that was put. That seed was planted in my brain that morning by the referees. Just so you know, they said they were going to send no red cards. They're not going to use any red cards. And I had my target on one lad for something he said a couple of years previous, and I ended up getting the wrong lad. So silly me.
For people who maybe aren't familiar with this story, the reason that you ended up hitting the wrong guy, were there names on the back of the jerseys, or was there some reason you actually misidentified?
Well, you see, the helmets are all the same. So they had unified helmets for each team. Ours were maroon and white, and Dublin's were blue and white, presumably, right? All the numbers then, let's say, coincided with that. They're in alphabetical order. So if you have, let's say, Murphy and fucking the two Murphys, Owen and Paul, for example, right? They'd be number 10 and number 11. So when you're heading down there, there's the same, roughly the same number and roughly the same helmets. You're like, I don't know who I'm going for here. So that's what happened. I got down there. I was like, fuck, I'm here. I'm committed. That's it. So dive.
Bit too committed to the hit. Soccer and Tim also makes a fair point just when it comes to Clare. So last year, Ryan Taylor didn't come back to the All-Ireland semi-final. O'Donnell didn't play till the league final. He came out, didn't he play against Kilkenny was his first minutes, and sure, Tony Kelly had the ankle injury and the surgery, and he was gone for most of last season as well, and yet Clare kind of pulled it together.
He came back for the first round of the championship in his Tony Kelly. He came on as
but I think he got a bit of time at the tail end of the league. Yeah. But either way, they had to start they were without 3 potential starters there and 2 of their best players for quite a bit of it last year, and they were able to turn it around as they came around. So the other thing people were asking about Declan Dalton, so this is a more general question rather than him, doing serious damage today, Murph, is the half forward line or the full forward line a better position for him?
I'd say half forward line for Declan Dalton. I don't know where he was deployed today, but like
both.
Was it both?
He drifted in and out, but he was dangerous in both. He's a great player on the wing forward. Like when you look at the semi-final last year, I just have these visions of Declan Dalton going up the left wing and scoring points from distance. Like he's on the frees from distance for Cork. Why is he on those? Because he's accurate from distance. Not every player is accurate from distance, and Declan Dalton has a good way of opening up the shoulders and finding a bit of space. Yeah, I understand deploying him inside in the full forward line if
you see that there's something can be exploited in there, that, you know, his assets inside, that you can go in there and exploit him and off you go. But the majority of the game, I'd be playing Declan Dalton outside. He's just your atypical wing forward for me. And I think they get the best of him out there. And when you look at also though at Cork inside, they have a lot of kind of out and out full forward line, like Hayes and Connolly and these boys, the speed of them, Jack O'Connor and all, like they have just speed that, you know, 21 yards in, like that speed is essential because you're gone from a player. Declan Dalton is fast, but maybe doesn't have that same turn of pace as Connolly and the boys. So I'd be saying, great player to get in the ball, loves getting involved as well in terms of getting a few tackles in. I think half forward line is where Declan Dalton lives.
Yeah, a few different bits and pieces here. I was just kind of flicking through as we were going by. So look, we may as well get on to the other Reds. We'll jump around the games a little bit here. So Pewell there talking about the red that wasn't given last night. So Conor Cooney's hit was a disgrace. He gets a yellow. Tynan today was a terrible decision. Now, you were there, Murph, for the Tynan one. So we'll get to this. I know Skehill and I had a very different take on this versus what you saw in the stadium. So we had the benefit of a replay and we see that there's minimal or no contact on it. But when you were watching this in the stand in real time, it looked like there was head contact, which I presume is what Sean Stack thought you saw as well.
This is it. This is exactly it. So the context, if you watch this at home, it was different from being in the stadium. Now, I'm sure there's people here who were in the stadium, but I'll give you the full experience in this one. First of all, I'll say it wasn't a red card for Tynan. But when it happened, I was in the press box about 30 feet from it, 40 feet from it. Brian Carroll and all these lads were there. Didn't hear their opinions. But when Tynan did it, straight away my reaction was, oh, that's a red. Just because of how everything played out. In real time, I went red. The TG car monitor that was in front of us was delayed, obviously. And when we saw it back, we went, oh, wait, actually, that wasn't a red. Sean Stack got one look. And the one thing I will say is that, okay, not a red, absolutely. Alan Tynan, and I think if Tipperary appeal it, they probably get off it. But I'd be quick to tell people don't jump on Sean Stack's back here because, and that's as a Kilkenny man, even though, you know, 3 lads went off. What I will say is that my first reaction was it was a red. And I was about 30 feet from it. And Sean Stack was about 30 feet from it. And I thought that, and if you, I went onto Twitter then and I Googled it, or not Googled, I threw in Alan Tynan's name. The only replays I can get are super slow motion from the perfect angle. The referees don't have that, like, you know. And I actually turned to one of the club referees in Kilkenny was sitting there, and I was like, would intercounty referees not be in favour of a rule like rugby where give him his red card or give him his yellow card, but let it be under review for the next 2 or 3 minutes. Play on with the game. Absolutely. Play on with the game. Send Tynan off if you have to send him off. And then someone on the sideline, like I was sitting in the press box, and to give listeners a view of what it was like, I was very calmly able to sit there and go, actually, that's not a red card. And you just get on the blower into Sean Stack, because Sean Stack doesn't want to send off Alan Tynan if he doesn't need to send them off either. That's the other thing you have to say here. So the one thing I would say to people is that Alan Tynan, doesn't deserve to be sent off, but cut Sean Stack a bit of slack here because he got one look of it. The crowd erupted straight away, and Cian Kenny's on the ground. Now, Cian Kenny popped up a half second later, but he was on the ground before it. And you're going, what does Sean Stack do in that situation? In fairness to him, he looked towards the sideline. Where was the linesman? The linesman was down the line where once Alan Tynan came towards Cian Kenny, Alan Tynan blocked Cian Kenny, so he couldn't necessarily see, you know, was there or was there not contact, but he could see that Cian Kenny was rising from a tackle and maybe contact was made. So the one thing I would say there, and what I would contrast it with is, if you contrast it with Cooney's one, and I'm not to jump ahead, like there's no mitigating factor there. That's like all day a red card. Whereas I think this one was just right on the line in terms of it's very. I have a lot of sympathy for the referee in this situation because it's a tough one to call. So look, what I'll say, Will, is not a red card, but I would be very quick to say don't be jumping on Sean Stack's back off the back of this one because in real time in Nolan Park I went, that's a red card.
Yeah, well, the thing is, Skehill, right? So the Irish Examiner reported this on Friday, and I'll bring you Brian Lohan's comments now in a second as well. But essentially, they were told middle of last week, referees assessors generally give instruction before a weekend. So obviously off the end of last weekend, you had the Tony Kelly hurl that comes up, makes head contact, doesn't become a red card. By TK's own admission, he said he could have been sent off by a different referee. And we had the one that happened at Páirc Uí Chaoimh, where Cian Kenny on the opposite end comes through on Downey and we get shoulder to head contact, and that's not a red card. So obviously it was a big topic for the referees assessors this week, and apparently the referees were told to clamp down on it. We didn't have a clamp down when it came to the Conor Cooney hit on Casey that took place on Saturday. But I'm sure that was in the back of Sean Stack's mind going into the game at Nolan Park today.
I'm sure it was. I'm sure any contact with the hedge at all was in their mind, and it seemed to be across the board today in all games, because I've never seen a weekend whereby there was 9 red cards banished? Was there 8? Like a crazy number, basically.
Well,
Murph, Kilkenny and Tip was 4 red cards. Clare
seven in 2 games alone.
Yeah, that's 7. Last night then was Conor Cooney. Was he the only one? Was there anyone from Limerick? Murph, you're muted. So I don't know. Maybe to answer your question, really, I do believe, that there was something put in a little nugget put in the referee's brain. Now, I will take issue with some things, right? And I do think that we've been sitting here now. This is year 4 of the podcast, right? We've referenced referees on a number of occasions. In more times than I can count, we said they need assistance. Whether that be boots on the ground in terms of more referees, etc., in the game, or a video official like we have in rugby, a TMO type person. That's not a bad idea. That doesn't that's not invasive in the game, or as you're saying. That's a good idea. Like that allows the game to get on, and that allows the correct decision to be made in a manner in which there's no pressure on an official in real time. They're not waiting for the game to restart, etc. So I don't think that's a bad idea at all. Like the one with Tynan today, I genuinely got fooled as well. That's the camera was on the opposite side. It's looking over Tynan. When I saw it in real time fast, I said that's a red card. I had the benefit of a replay, and I went, geez, no, that's actually that's nothing. I will take issue, and I don't like the way this has happened sometimes. Murph, don't shoot me here now, okay? Right? Last week, Kenny hit, I think it was Kieran Joyce. Is that right? I think it was Kieran Joyce. And Kenny actually went down, looked at Joyce, and held his own head to try buy a bit of, I suppose, sympathy with the referee, and it worked, right? Today, Tynan flies by him. Kenny goes down a bit easy, He does. In fairness, he goes down a bit easy, and he buys it. He sells it as well. So I'm thinking some of the decisions I saw today, were being sold. So Kenny did sell it. The one with Mikey Carey, that was sold too, lads. So that wasn't a red card for me either. The only one that for me in that game that was a genuine red card was the Blanchfield one. That was a bit, and I like Blanchfield. I'm a fan of his, right? But that kind of reactionary swipe across the head, that's not great. You know what I mean? The Mikey Carey one, there's not that much in that. So I think overall, right, there's play acting, there's a bit of flipping, there's a bit of selling. I hate to reference this sport, but it's like in soccer. There's a bit of selling it, and the referees will fall for it, because it's sold really well. In the same breath, we have to provide assistance. We do, and if that's in the video or like the rule you said, Murph, super rule, non-invasive, game gets on with it. There's no pace affected. There's no let's say spectacle affected. Everything keeps going, but we have 100% clear vision on each incident. Then,
Murph, take up that Kilkenny players diving to get players sent off. May as well give you a chance to defend your county here.
Sorry, I actually had my mic muted there while I was coughing. Sorry, the one thing I was actually going to say about Jordan Malloy, which is the one we probably won't talk about because it was 2 yellows after getting 3 straight reds. Jordan Malloy's one, I actually felt that was the one that was part of inconsistency. And again, this is just an observation, but Jordan Malloy's first yellow, which nobody will remember from today because it was innocuous. Tipperary player coming out, could have been Jake Morris or someone, or Joe Caesar, I'm not sure. But he went to flick the ball and he flicked his hand and it made a bit of a noise. And Sean Stack gave a yellow card for it. About 2 or 3 minutes before it, Kilkenny got a free. And it was the exact same thing. It was Tipperary player X, I don't know, was it Ronan Maher or someone came in and flicked Billy Ryan or Garo Dunn. And it was a free in for a flick on the hand. Jordan Malloy's one made a little bit more noise than the Tipperary one. One player wasn't booked, the other player was booked. So I bring that up in the way of inconsistency, like just the inconsistency of give both of them yellows or give neither of them yellows. But Jordan Malloy wasn't fouling lads in the first half. He got one snig and he got a straight yellow. So it's almost like I hark back to Rory O'Connor last year in the quarter final where he got his first yellow so early. You're kind of going, that was very early for a yellow, but it was inconsistent, as in Jordan Malloy's one today was inconsistent. The second one, snig on the back of the head, I wouldn't have any problem with the referee given that, but off the back of his first one was soft. I went, that feels harsh for me for Jordan Malloy because there was nothing in it. Do you know what? There was no malice. I'm sure lads are destroying me in the comments, Skehill, that you were reading.
Oh, there's one there. There's one I can't read it, but it's fucking hilarious.
But anyway, those were the one. But I think the big inconsistency one we're talking over the weekend is how I'm sure I'll get to it in a minute there. But the Mike Casey one, which is the one that we haven't talked about yet, like that. Whatever with the rest of when you talk about time like Blanchfield, Blanchfield will be disappointed he did it, but he deserved a red. like the inconsistency at the weekend is Conor Cooney not getting sent off. Again, nothing against Conor Cooney, but Jesus, poor Mike Casey nearly got decapitated. Like, and
that's like, and he's as tough a hurler as you get in this country.
Yeah,
and to see the way he went off, kind of starry-eyed, and like he was not a happy camper coming back out, as you know, because he couldn't. He was not
understandably though.
Yeah, his day was ruined. He's trying to nail down a position in a very competitive squad. He gets caught after maybe 20 minutes, 25 minutes. I don't know what it was, and he's gone for the day. It's like he had no chance to defend himself. He had no chance to get him back. You know what I mean? And like this, when I say get him back, I mean in a fair way. Before people go chewing me, right? Relax. So
I think it's perfectly okay to put up Damien Cowell's commentary. JFK stood up longer than some lads this weekend, and he took 2 shots.
That made me laugh out loud more, to be honest. I couldn't hold it in. I saw that.
Yeah. I was just afraid I was getting absolutely destroyed there in the comments, and Skehill was loving it. So that was the only thing.
Nah, the files have been declassified. It's perfectly okay, I think, to make a JFK joke in 2025 at this stage. The question from Paul Valentine here: how serious are the injuries to Hugh Lawler and Owen Cody? I'm not sure, but did you hear Ant Murph afterwards?
No, I heard nothing. To be honest, there was nobody asking about injuries after the whirlwind that was the match today. But no, look, they were down as being named to start. For me, that kind of says that Kilkenny by Wednesday probably had to submit a programme, and maybe were in doubt over were the lads going to be fit or were they not going to be fit. Submitted a team, so it would say to me that they're not that far away now, unless they picked up a bigger niggle on Tuesday night. That's the only thing I can explain. So the only thing I would be saying is that I wouldn't say Hugh Lawler and Owen Cody are that badly injured. I would just say that after they submitted the team on Wednesday or whatever it was for the programme, by Friday night when they went to try them out, the boys were still carrying knocks. And I'd be inclined to say you could see one or both playing against Limerick, or you mightn't see neither still, but I wouldn't say it's Anton long term.
Picking up Brian McNamara's point here, and like there's a lot of whataboutery, which I don't really like, and this has happened quite a bit in the discourse, I think, even from today, which was, well, how come Team X has not got red cards for similar incidents and so on? Like, I think everyone was very aware going into this weekend that particularly head contact was going to result in cards. One didn't result in the one with the Casey hit from Conor Cooney last night. If it's a red for that, second yellow was the shoulder. Imagine if Hegarty or Hayes did that, there'd be uproar. Look, again, I think there's probably a certain amount of Limerick success leads to people having a go at Limerick in these type of incidents, but I think on this pod at least we've tried to be as fair as we can be and judge each incident as it goes by. Like, none of us are arguing, and I know we were all watching the match and kind of messaging each other last night, like none of us are arguing that Cooney shouldn't have seen the line for that hit.
Not at all. Like, Conor is a very, like, I did say previously earlier on today, like, as well, that some of the stuff I saw online written about Conor, like, is absolute and utter fucking tripe and bullshit, and needs to be, clutched a small bit. Like, they're attacking his personal character, his personal life, calling him things that you wouldn't call flipping murderers. Do you know what I mean? The way things were going on. So he's not a dirty hurler. Like, he's as clean as a whistle in club hurling. He's a physical player. There's no two ways about it. He's a physical player. He uses that physicality really well, 99.9% of the time. And if he saw the challenge back again, I guarantee you, as honest as he is, he'd say, hand up, that's a straight red card. So it's not his fault that he didn't get sent off. It's his fault that he did the incident, or he caused the incident. Absolutely. He will own it 100%. But the fact that he didn't get sent off, not him. I can only put it down to the fact that maybe sight lines were taken or couldn't get the right angle. That's all I'm putting it down to, because even when I saw it in real time at actual pace, I said, that's the red card. We're down to 14, So I can't speak to as what James Owen saw or didn't see. All I'll go back to is that we keep pointing towards these incidents that they need some assistance with the help of video or, as you said. And Murph, I think you've hit the right nail on the head there. If that's brought into hurling, we don't have these conversations. Of the 8 red cards or 9 red cards that were banished this weekend, we might have 4 that hold up, maybe. Maybe. So, look, food for thought, lads. Who's swear jar?
The swear jar has been heavy on this one. Right? You put your live. I won't mind, but we recorded for the last 4 or 5 weeks. Barely a swear to be had, and now it's.
It was a passionate day though today. The blood was up.
Yeah, now we've been pushed now. So it's like
there's nothing like live comments to get you cursing. That's the one thing I say now.
Dante's picked up an unusual coincidence, which is a good point here. Is there some kind of universal curse on the Casey brothers that they can't be on the same pitch at the same time? Now, it was nice to see
Casey curse, is it?
Yeah, when Peter Casey came on, he bangs over a point fairly soon after he came on. So good to see him back after the bad injury.
Lovely to see it.
On Mike Casey, they did ask on TG Carr afterwards, and the line on that one was that he could be concussed. Now, I think John Kiley was very I suppose, smart in not making any kind of sweeping statements about it, but he said definitely he was in a bad way after he came off last night. So hopefully he's going to be okay and able to play that Kilkenny game this coming Saturday. But the Nicky Quaid news, let's get to that, Skehill. There's hope here that he might play. I've got so it was the Bull. The Bull gave it away first.
The Bull let I was going to say the cat out the bag. Let the calf out the bag. The Bull let the calf out the bag, and I don't think Mr. Kiley is too happy. Did you see Kiley's face? Did you see his face, right? When your man, the interviewer said,
Micheál O'Donnell was like, your full forward has just told me a few moments ago he's
he
fine.
hung him.
So,
Jeez, he hung him.
Oh, did he? Not like a journalist to hang a fella, isn't there? Like,
he hung him out to dry. And like in real time, I look, Kylie's face is kind of going, did he know? What's it to say? But then he turned it back to all goalkeepers are going really well. Just give the token managerial answer.
They're all lovely goalkeepers.
Yeah.
I've got the important part of the quote here from John Kiley on Nicky Quaid. So bear in mind that O'Brien had said just before that the 4 lads were working, that Nicky was back in and had remained part of the squad, which obviously gives the hope, I would think, for Limerick supporters that Nicky Quaid will play some part in the year so far. And then John Kiley said he's doing well, quote, he's working hard, he's making incredible progress. Fair, he does want to get back, that's why he's still in with the group. If he didn't think that, he probably wouldn't be with the group. He has a massive challenge ahead though, it's week to week. You never know whether you're going to get a flare-up or soreness, and he might be back off for a couple of weeks again. You just have to take it week to week, but he is working extremely hard. Like, my read on that would be, Murph, the door is certainly not closed for Nicky Quaid being in the Limerick goal at some point this season.
He's back. He's coming back. Yeah.
No, not at all. Not at all. And I think he's deserving of the fact that no more than if Tony Kelly is fit by the time you get to an All-Ireland semi-final, he gets the benefit of the doubt and he gets to play. Nicky Quaid is the same. It's fair play to him. If he gets back, I put Nicky Quaid and Shane O'Donnell in the same category here. As nobody wants to have either of them missing for the championship this year. Looks like as it stands, both of them will miss it, and we'll have to take it as that way until told otherwise. But Nicky Quaid contributes to the hurling championship in an enormous way, and he brings this dimension to the goalkeeping position that a few other goalkeepers can replicate. So it's great to see that potentially at some stage this year, Nicky Quaid will be back on the field with Limerick. I think that's definitely a positive news.
Yeah, by the way, I don't think it does show any kind of lack of faith in Dowling and Gallan. I think they've both been given a chance here in his absence to play. And I know, Skehill, you were impressed by how the puckouts went this week, so they were a little bit wayward last week when you were watching them in person. But Dowling made a couple of good saves, and like his puckouts, just from watching it on TV, looked to be hitting the spots last night. Yeah,
I love the cameras behind the goals because you get a sense of what the movement has been offered up front. It's very hard for us watching from left to right or right to left to see what Shane Dowling sees in real time. And the movement is really good, and I didn't see that really transpire in the Clare game last week. So maybe the opportunities that were presented to Jason Glenn, or to Shane Dowling, weren't presented to Jason Glenn, should I say. So in the interest of fairness, I'm saying, like, when I see some of the movement that's been done, it's been really done well, and particularly the likes of Keane Lynch, Colin Neal and English, they offered really well last night, to be fair. But the trouble is as well, in the same breath, Galway fell for it. They fell for it. All the movement that was done by Limerick, they decided to go toe-to-toe with the men, and box the space opened up, and then Dowling made them pay. And in the same breath, Dowling, like, there should have been 2 goals placed on him, didn't get them. Long-range frees dropping straight to the keeper's hand, unchallenged, can't happen. Like, he came outside the box. I think he caught 2 in the final 5 or 6 minutes outside his box, I think. You know what I mean? So if a keeper comes outside his box, he needs to be challenged, in fairness, regardless of who it is. But it's not a slight on Dowling or Gallan at all that we're saying that when Nicky Quaid comes back, he should be right back in. He's earned the right. You know what I mean? Now, obviously, his form will come up to match. I'm pretty confident that it will, right? It's just like if Brendan Cummins came back for Tipperary in his time, would he be back in goals? Yes. Would Don Logue? Yes. Owen Murphy? Absolutely. That's just the level of output these goalkeepers offer. So it's not us saying that get rid of Dowling and Gallan. That's not the case. It's just that the assets that Limerick have when Quaid's available is so high. It's so high that he comes straight back into the game. So for me, he's a sure starter.
Yeah. Your take on the performance from Dowling, Murph, before we talk about Galway, maybe?
Yeah, I thought he was good. I'm thinking of 2 really good saves that he made. I can't even remember who took the shots now, but there's one going high right towards, let's say, Dowling's top right.
John Cooney, yeah.
Yeah, and
now, Murph,
good save. Well,
in your opinion, right? And now I'm a bit harsh on this. Were they good saves or bad shots, or were they both?
I would say.
What would you say?
So the one, me not being a goalkeeper, I would say the one top right, Like it's still a good save, but at the same time, I wouldn't put it high in my list of shots that are hard to save. Now again, not a goalkeeper, obviously not.
No, you're right.
But the one where he saved when he was falling down, I actually thought he went down too early there, but because the shot was going towards him, he was able just to get the hurl and flick it. But nevertheless, he saved it. Like, as in, I think we saw, not going to throw Ever Quilligan under the bus here, but there was, I think I saw a clip of it on the news of, was it Brian Hayes' one that fumbled into the goal? Like, Shane Dowland's still producing saves there, and I just thought that, well, he can only save what's put in front of him. That's the other side of it, So I was actually, and he came out with one or two balls, caught one or two that I thought were decent. I think the big one, which is interesting, and it's a tough one for them, and like Skehill, you're more of an expert on it, is, never have keepers been so judged on their puckouts in this generation. You could just lump it. There was a time where you could lump it, and no more than when you're in cornerback, you could lump it up the field and it was fine. Like now, even your average hurling supporter will judge a keeper on their puckouts, as opposed to just being able to have the benefit of landing down the half forward line. That was a good puckout once upon a time. So that's where we're judging now at the moment. But I think in terms of a fella who's been asked to come in and do a job, fair play to him. He done a good job there last night, I thought.
Yeah, like in a 70-minute game, right? The average amount of possessions a team will have is about 180, 190. Okay, your keeper on average will have 30.
Yeah.
So, and he's not even counting those possessions. They're live possessions outfield. So if your keeper has 30 possessions nowadays, every management team, going back 5 years ago, maybe a bit less, would consider that as an opportunity to attack. Now every person in the crowd today considers it an opportunity to attack. So if the keeper doesn't secure primary possession of a poke out, there's groans in the crowd, there's roaring at him, etc. The day is gone now where it says poke it long. That was in 3 or 4 years ago. You poke it long. Now it's, can you get his possession straight away? And if you don't get his possession, it's on you, keeper. So, Murph, I'm glad someone has said it. Do you know what I mean?
What did I say? I want to write it down, so I say it again in nerve.
No, you're on about this.
Oh, it's good.
The level of scrutiny for goalkeepers, to be fair.
Oh no, it is. I mean, it's crazy. Like once upon a time, and I'll say it, like I was part of a generation where it was happy enough that you could lump a ball down, and slowly hurling changed, where it was like you're now an absolute criminal unless you look up and ping a ball into a lad's hand. Well, the same is the same for goalkeepers. And the thing is, what's harder for a goalkeeper than it is for a cornerback or any other player out the field is that it's a set piece, the goalkeeper giving a puck out, and the opposition have 15 players who know exactly what they're doing for that set piece, and your keeper has to now pick a player out 100 yards away into the hand, and you're the worst person in the world if you don't do it. That's why it's so tough on keepers at the moment. And then you're following Nicky Quaid, one of the greatest keepers of all time. Very tough for Limerick. I think both Galan and Shane Dowland have done a good job so far, and I think they'll be quietly happy that both lads are still competing. It's going to be very hard to say who's going to be in the goal for Limerick at the start of the championship. Probably just, I don't know, does Galan just about pip it at the moment, but Shane Dowland's performance last night then kind of tilts it back in his favour. I don't know. Tough one.
Like, if I'm going now, right, I've seen Galan twice. I've seen him against Cork and against Clare, and we've obviously seen Dowling against Tipperary and against Galway.
Yeah,
Chase Dowling he's been good, let's say.
No, he has, yeah.
If I'm picking my goalie at the minute, I'm heading slightly, and this is not 80-20. This is 51-49. Like, you know what I mean?
Does he rotate again this weekend, Skehill? Because obviously they've got the Kilkenny game now. Does that mean that Galan gets a run out this weekend, or do you let Dowling get a bit of repetition and stay in the team?
So they have 2 games left, yeah. So I think he gives
Wexford
one
and
each.
Kilkenny.
Yeah, I think he gives one each again. I think he gives one each again, and to be fair, that'll be like just the last face-off, if you want to call it, the last opportunity for both. If Dowling continues his form in when he gets his next run, and if Limerick in the league final, Dowling's in again. I think that's the way the competition. The only way you can get a true competition, a true feel of competition, is matches. You won't get it in training, to be honest, because it's a different level of intensity. But so I'd imagine, a guess here, I'd say Galan's going to start next week against Kilkenny, I'd imagine, and then the week after, I'd imagine Dowling's back in, and then it'll be whoever's in for a potential league final.
Yeah, decision time. So Cyril Farrell was on with us last night, Skelly. He was talking about the Galway performance. He saw 2 issues. One, how open Galway were, which led to Limerick getting loads of shots away during the game, which he also talked about just a lack of spread of scores across the team as well. So I had a quick look. So you had 10 of the starting 15 from Limerick scored, and quite a few of their defenders were like going up and having shots without a huge amount of pressure on them at various times, which would be, I think, a black mark against the way Galway played. And Galway themselves, only 4 of their starters got in the spreadsheet, and you're looking at the vast majority of those scores coming from Conor Cooney's frees as well. Like, the Bull ends up getting as much from play, I think, as the Galway full forward line got from play.
Yeah, like we had 4 points from play in the first half, I think.
Yeah.
Limerick had 111. That's a huge contrast, lads. I suppose we're obviously messing in the group during the game. I'd be very disappointed. I referenced Cork a while ago about the bit of nastiness and maliciousness they offered in the defence against Clare today. Generally, I like to see that. I like to see that that's a show of intent. Whether that be really aggressive intent, tight marking, call it what you want. That was nowhere to be seen yesterday from Galway, which is disappointing. And I can tell you the management team for sure would be on to Galway about laying down a marker, getting physical in front of the Limerick's home crowd and making life difficult for Limerick forwards. But it was a pure truck and trailer job last night, Will. They were just wherever the Limerick forward went, the Galway lad shadowed them around, in the exact route and weren't thinking with our smarts on. And the biggest issue for me was the fact that when the primary possession was up for grabs in our half forward line, we couldn't get it. And we gave Limerick a huge platform to come forward. It then became, as I said to you last night, it became a game between the positions 5 and 12, a possession-based game. And Limerick are just so good at that, we couldn't cope with them whatsoever. So ball goes into the middle third. Limerick half-back line, let's say, win it for primary. They come out into the midfield, 2 or 3 passes, and next thing you know, the Bull has the ball. He's turning down Morrissey, point. And this is just rinse and repeat. It was like, it's tough. And the trouble I find is where are the answers where are the answers going to come from? Limerick have loads of answers because they've loads of clientele and they're a well-oiled system. I'm not sure yet. So it's the fact that we have to get back to the training ground big time and see, can we get, for me, our best players have to be in positions 5 and 12. If you can't survive or fight in there, you're going to get killed nowadays, regardless of who you play. So when I saw our half forward line being named, I had questions. I won't lie to you. I had questions about could we stack up? And ultimately we got 8 alive during the half forward line in the first half, specifically. Yeah, our midfield were 8 alive. And this is not me going attacking players. I've been part of games where we've been 8 alive, don't get me wrong. It's just that it's no harm to say it out. Just own it and move on. You know what I mean? Try and get better. We were beaten, soundly beaten, well beaten physically in every facet of the game. Physically, shooting, movement, heads up hurling, all that. Beaten flat out. And we didn't have the answers. So it's no more than Clare I was saying about the Cork game today. Park it and move on. Simple as that. Just get away from it and move on. But take learnings from it. Take huge learnings from it. Because the next time you see them lads again, if you see them, will be in Croke Park senior final.
Crack of the Ash doing the maths here, which I was totting up in the background as well. So Galway only had 8 scores from play throughout the whole game. That's not going to carry them, Murph. For all of the attacking quality that they've got. And also there was a fair point brought up a little bit further up. I think it was Mossy Lyons who made the point, which is they've got this quality option inside in Whelan. So Galway failing again, the old habit of having one of the best inside forwards in the game in Conor Whelan, never feeding him the ball. He gets frustrated and then comes out the field.
No.
Go on, Skehill, you take it up first, go on. Saying it's not me. You seem angry.
No, I get it. I can see because we make reference to Wheelo, he's always under contest when the ball comes to him, right? A lot of the ball that comes into him can be up in the air where he's contesting for himself. But 2 things have to unfold here. One, the quality of delivery has to be better, absolutely, of course. But Wheeler's lateral movement has to be better too, to create separation. Like if you look at the Cork forwards today, for example, you look at Hayes, a big unit, sorry. Like he's 6'3" or 4", right? And probably 15 stone, and he can move fast. You know what I mean? So he's carrying timber, and those lads, Dalton the same way, they are constantly moving, right? All the time. And if I had one question over, I'd say Wheelo's with the ball into him is his movement enough, to create a bit of separation from him? I can see what you're saying. I can absolutely see what you're saying and how it looks, but it's twofold. It's not just one specific set of personnel out the field that are causing Wheeler ferocious problems. Because yes, last night he had ball under high. Anthony Burns had high ball come down top of him as well. But just the whole system has to improve. The whole thing. It's not just one element, if you ask me.
Damien Cowell back in contact, by the way. My mother better not hear about the JFK joke, or I'll be the one taking shots. So, yeah. I mean, look, I thought it was a good joke. Murph, you've marked the man. Is Conor Whelan getting enough out of himself? Galway getting enough out of him?
Look, I'd be more inclined to say it's the supporting act, in fairness. Like my impression of Galway last night, or Saturday night, last night, it wasn't that I was going, Conor Whelan isn't in this game. Galway as a whole weren't in the game, and their system there, you can't expect one player to be thrown into the middle of it, redeem the whole thing then. It just doesn't work like that. And particularly when you're playing teams, not mentioned in Limerick or anything, every team you face at the moment has some sort of system that they're operating in. If you're working as individuals within that, it's very hard to exist. It's very hard to pull a team back from it with one individual performance. Conor Whelan is very consistent and he's a great ball winner. He's not going to be the lad that goes out and scores 110 from play and pulls you back into the game. I wouldn't know what player you could actually throw into that Galway forward line at the moment that being fed the type of ball that was going in there last night would have also won ball and put over a lot of scores. I just think the whole system there, and as Skehill was saying, it's not one man, it's the whole system there. Galway weren't at the races last night, and it's the same as Kilkenny against Tipperary. Kilkenny weren't at the races. You can't throw one player in there and expect someone to turn the whole thing around. So to turn around and say that Conor Whelan, when I've played against Conor Whelan when Galway had really good, let's say 1 to 15 in terms of established players, really good balance. You had the likes of David Burke and these lads baiting through the middle, and Conor Whelan was allowed to go and play. He didn't have to worry about trying to bring other lads into the game, and he's absolutely one of the most dangerous players you can play against. Physically very strong, great ball winner. When that isn't there, there's very little you can expect out of the man. Only then he has to go and fight for these balls, and then what is he doing? He gets the ball in his hand, and he's rising up, and you have Will O'Donoghue in on top of you, and you have Kyle Hayes in on top of you, and you have Barry Nash. Like, there's only so much one man can do. So no, you have to get off his back on that one. That's absolutely not a Conor Whelan problem. That's a Galway system problem.
I'm going to assume this is one of your buddies in work here, Murph, for coming in from Richie Carroll. I'm looking forward to wearing my tip jersey into the barracks tomorrow.
I won't be in the barracks tomorrow, Richie, so you can wear it away if you want.
Is he allowed to do it?
Huh?
Is he allowed to do that?
No, he's absolutely not. I'll say it to him now. He's probably watching this live. You can't do that. He's going to send me a Snapchat in a while. I don't care.
What happens if you go in without a uniform? Do you get, like, what's the punishment?
I'm gonna call the military police to arrest him if he wears a Tipperary jersey into the barracks tomorrow. That's what's going to happen. Look, Kilkenny barracks. I would say half Kilkenny. Do you know what? It's like a third. Oh, geez, actually, it's nearly a quarter. Waterford, Kilkenny, Tipperary, Wexford, Carlow as well. Bit of Laois. We have a nice little dynamic there. There was actually one a few years ago, and I'll put it this way, Richie mightn't remember this, but there was a 2013, we played Limerick in a warm-up match down in Limerick, and JP was after supporting some junior team to get their pitch set up, and we played Limerick. We were blown away by Limerick. We went, Jesus, this is unbelievable. But there's a Tipperary lad in the barracks was running a kind of a stake, guessed the score of Tipperary versus Limerick. Tipperary were hugely fancied to go and beat Limerick in the Munster Championship. And I went, Jesus, Limerick are actually going all right. So I just gave Limerick a win by like 2 points, and I won about €400 out of the oak, because he had only asked Tipperary people, who all went, Tipperary are winning this. That's the thing. And I went, I think Limerick actually could win this one. Won €400. So the benefit of having an eclectic mix inside in the barracks. But yeah, I knew Richie Carroll would be watching this. Of course he would. Tipperary win, and he'd be watching it.
Yeah.
Nah.
Well,
yeah.
Like, so
a good Carrick man. I'll say that much.
Both of you are about to get questions about your respective counties. So before I open the door to Skehill about how worried or not he is about Galway, for you, Murph, is it worrying, say, if this weekend doesn't go Kilkenny's way and Limerick come into town and win, they'll have lost 3 home games at Nolan Park, which feels almost unheard of?
I wouldn't be too concerned about the 3 home matches in a row. To be honest, I'd be more concerned, is that the word, of the manner in which it's happening. Like, you know, so like we'd spoken to members pod, and I tipped Limerick based on what we can see at the moment with a 1 week turnaround, Limerick to beat Kilkenny this coming weekend, particularly the fact that Kilkenny are also going to be missing, you know, key players as well. Yeah, you know, and will they have injuries back, whatever, it doesn't really matter. But the performance there today, you know, it was just like, for the first takeaway before the red cards happened, the first 25 minutes, there was just not enough cut from Kilkenny. They were kind of standing off their men. Tipperary hurled really well. They didn't hit a wide till about 25th, 27th minute. And they didn't really get a hand laid on them. And that was the kind of thing where you're going, lads, you know, if Tipperary are in town, and Tipperary would say the exact same thing if Kilkenny are down in Thurles, you perform and you get stuck in. So I would be more saying that I wouldn't be too concerned about 3 home defeats in a row. I'd be saying, well, what manner in which did they come? You know, Galway came to town, and Kilkenny, I suppose, kind of maybe took it for granted that Galway hadn't performed well against Tipperary, and allowed Galway into the... Not allowed Galway. Maybe weren't just ready for Galway, and Galway started quick. Kilkenny went and played Wexford. It started really well. 35 minutes, great hurling. Went into the dressing room, came out with their foot off the gas, and Wexford came coming back at them. Again, today, it was quite pedestrian today in terms of they just weren't in the game for about 20-25 minutes. Didn't score the first score from play, I'd say, for maybe 15 minutes. So all those things I'd be saying, I'm not really too concerned with 3 losses in a row in Kilkenny. That's that. I'd be more saying, well, what's the manner in which these games are being lost? Like, Limerick are coming to town now. Limerick, if they get going, you know, could put up a big score if Kilkenny just don't go and say, lads, we need to get to grips with this here. We need wherever we need to go looking, soul searching here to get a performance. That's what we need to do. if Kilkenny lose it, but they hurl well, I'll be okay with that. That's fine. And if it's a gutsy performance, that's fine with me. But I wouldn't be too kind of caught up in this. Sometimes these records have been thrown out of Kilkenny haven't lost a game since X in Nolan Park and blah blah blah. And when TJ Reid doesn't start, Kilkenny don't score this, etc. I'd be just more concerned with, okay, well, what are the 15 players on the field doing? What are the lads coming in? Is it a gutsy performance? Yes or no? If it's not, I'd be more concerned with that than 3 losses in a row. And look, to be fair, call spade a spade. Limerick coming to town next week. It's a very tough place to see Kilkenny going and getting a win out of that, because there's competition building in Limerick. They're hurling well, and Kilkenny now have lads sent off and injuries, and at the same time are kind of struggling to get a full 70 minutes together. So I wouldn't be too caught up, like I said, but a great performance is what I'd be looking for against Limerick.
Joseph Nash getting the questions in here. He was asking Skehill, are Galway in trouble at this stage? Now he's gone with this one, which maybe you can take first, Skehill, and Murph can get his thoughts together. I don't think there's any chance of Murph returning. I saw Gary Heaven down there. You may tog out yourself, Murph. You didn't get that feeling in the stand, no?
Mick Murphy returned for Donegal. No, I'm not returning. Jesus Christ, 36 now. I don't know how other lads are doing.
Okay, Murph, let's play it out right. Let's just say there's a bit of an injury crisis. Jared Lean picks up the phone and says, "Murph, I need you back in." Would you go back in?
I'm in tomorrow morning. Done, gone. I'll go in and hurl away. No, but if there's like a movie scene where it's like there's a new pandemic and there's loads of lads sick, and you have to tug out a heap of lads, and it's like one of these Mighty Ducks films where they're ringing Tommy out and Tullaroan and all this stuff. Oh, jeez, I'm in. Strap me up. I'm going
First
in.
man back. He's going back and fucking the Bull O'Brien. Here, Murph, go there.
Oh no, I'd probably pull a hamstring in the warm up there if that's the case.
You can have the Bull. You can go on Aaron Gillan. It's up to you what you want to do this weekend.
I don't like to look at whatever we look at Gillan. Absolutely, I've marked him before, but the Bull is looking flying at there. He's a big man.
It's ways you talk at the podcast, lads. It's ways you talk here.
I'm happy where I am. Yeah.
Skehill, you can take this before Murph does. Are Kilkenny on a slow decline since Cody left? Is that fair?
Are we talking about the immediate time since Cody left, or are we talking about his tenure?
I would think you'd probably have to take it, right? So from when Cody finished up, so say, are the last 2 or 3 years a sign of decline with Kilkenny, or is there actually enough of a sign that maybe Derek Lyng is turning things around? I think that's a fair way of phrasing it.
Sometimes what happens in sport is you have a county like Kilkenny who went through a huge round of success for a decade, 2 decades nearly at this stage, or a decade and a half for sure, right? And that's the mantle in which they're always been held to. So if they don't achieve that, there's like groans and moans that they're obviously declining. Now, when you try and reintroduce or introduce new players into that mix, that coincides with a team like Limerick, who then catapult themselves into being mentioned in the same bracket as Kilkenny as the best team of all time. These conversations start happening. Of course they've declined. Of course they have declined to what they've offered previously. But like what they're up against, to say, is a juggernaut, really. So the teams that have been put out now by Limerick, by Clare of recent, by Cork coming, etc., are exceptional teams. And I don't think it's realistic to say that we're going to be at the top 2. Murphy, even you wouldn't say, I don't know, that Kilkenny be at the top 2 every year in, year out. It's just not going to happen, not going to be realistic. And in fairness to Lyng, let's say, does he have the same level of player that Cody had when he first started out? No, the answer is no, straight up, right? But he needs time to blood them in. And the trouble is, he's coming against counties at the minute that are in exceptional shape. So, yes, I'd say the answer is yes. They've slightly declined to a degree when you consider what Cody achieved. But Kilkenny does. There's no doubt they'll be back again. Challenge again.
Before we talk about tipping back, Murph, your take on this idea that Kilkenny are slowly declining in front of us here?
I don't think it's a slow decline. There's far more competition at the moment, and Kilkenny aren't at the peak of it at the moment, and there's no doubt in saying that. Derek has been, in fairness to him, he was with the 20s and won the All-Ireland and has been trying to bring a few of them lads through. I suppose what we've just haven't been seeing is lads hitting the same peaks as Kilkenny have gotten out of previous minor teams or 20 teams, taking in 2 or 3 lads from each group and going back and hitting those heights. And I think that's the thing. There is minor players coming through, there's under 20 players coming through. There mightn't be household names, and it mightn't be, when I came through on a minor team and under 21 team, the road was wide open in front of us with Kilkenny winning All Irelands. It was just a matter of where you're going to get there in time and continue on that conveyor belt. Whereas at the moment, in fairness to the lads, they kind of have to go back and get the show back on the road and go win an All Ireland. And it's like that thing with Clare of, Clare won one in 2013. Were they going to win one again? But it was this soul searching of trying to go and get one. And the thing is about sport, it's not going to hang around for you. If Kilkenny don't get their act together in terms of, maybe getting a few good years together and getting teams together that can consistently perform, there's no doubt that, they won't just go and win an All-Ireland automatically, because, Cork won't be going anywhere anytime soon. Limerick won't be going anywhere anytime soon. In fairness, Tipperary probably have done their few years in that tough area of transition as well. So, you look at all the other teams, they're not going to wait for you to come around. But are they in transition? I was laughing coming out the door of Nolan Park today going, well, I wasn't laughing, certainly wasn't, but I was coming out to the door, and lads were obviously very disappointed, Tipperary after beating us. And someone just said to me, in 1993, Kilkenny were relegated in the league by Down inside Nolan Park. And lads were like, this is it. We're never winning another thing again. Won the All-Ireland. But now, I'm not saying that's going to happen this year, but it's what I often see is lads getting sucked into this one game kind of. Now, it's not one game with Kilkenny this year. There's been a few results, but today, it was kind of that instance of where people are going, Jesus, Tipperary's coming to town and we're losing by 9 points. Galway had that moment at the start of the league and kind of got their shop in order after that. There certainly has been a decline. We've fallen away from the top. But at the same time, we've been in All-Irelands in the last few years, and we came against a generational team in that time in Limerick.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's things there. I'm always consistently trying to look at the big picture of this to go, have we shown players that have been that far away? No. If you look at Limerick or Clare last year, could Kilkenny do what Clare have done? Of course they could, because Clare timed their run perfectly. They got players back just in time and just about had the 20 players really to go and win an All-Ireland. And really, that can still happen. And for any of those teams, you look at Cork, for example. Cork are looking to get a monkey off the back by winning All-Ireland, the first one since 2006. Kilkenny are also trying to do that now with the first All-Ireland since 2015. Give it a few years and people will say about Tipperary since 2019. If you're not winning All-Ireland, eventually you'll have the tag with you of, when's the next one going to come? It's been a drought since the last one. And that is I suppose, a psychological thing that teams will have to take. And this Kilkenny team are wandering into that water of, we have to go and win All-Ireland at some stage over the next few years to try and stem this tide of the feeling that there's a decline in Kilkenny.
Yeah, no, that's a very fair point. This is also a good point made by Brian McNamara as well. I don't think we're sleeping on the fact that Aidan O'Connor has been so good. Again, I thought he was very impressive against Galway. So the bull going well for the audio listeners, but I think Aidan O'Connor is a serious operator for Limerick. Moving Hayes to 6 seems like a very smooth transition as well, if Han isn't a 70-minute option. So again, I think Hayes has been playing well. Obviously, he was forced off, and but he's been doing well sitting at anchor position. But Aidan O'Connor, when it comes to this scale, again, Adam English was brought up a little bit further up the chat as well. We've talked about this a few times. They're adding serious depth. They're adding players who can, come in and do a job straight away into this system as well. And even if other lads are off form or just coming back, O'Connor, I think he came on the first game and he started all the games since. Mm-hmm. And again, he was popping over scores for fun from play last night as well. He's been very good.
He's been very good, very solid. When you look at players that have occupied positions while the regulars have been out either through rest or through injury, and putting Barry Murphy in that bracket too. I said a couple of weeks ago, he's making the position his own, and it looks like when you move an all-star out like Barry Nash to the wing to accommodate Barry Murphy, vice versa, that could be a multitude of things. But having Hayes at 6, Nash at 5 or 7, having Barry Murphy inside alongside Sean Finn, they don't miss a beat. Where's Dan Mercy? Where's Declan Hannon? Where's Jimmy Burns? So you're talking about, again, multiple all-stars that didn't feature last night, and the defence keeps operating at a level that is consistent with the best defence in the country. Go up the field in and say you're missing Dara Donovan, and you've Adam English in there. And we've seen him play for Doon over the last number of years. He's been awesome with Doon. He's had some cameos with Limerick, got more time last year than most than years previous, and now he's making a position his own. And it's the case that if Donovan comes back, English is nailed on midfield. He's nailed on midfield. That's it. He fully deserves it. He's been completely influential in every game he's played. He hasn't been passed out. He hasn't been cleaned. He's been extremely, connects the play really well. Go up the line again now. Now we've got the O'Connors. It's Jesus, they've an embarrassment of riches, And then you've got people like Conor Neal, who we would associate as nearly somewhat of a veteran amongst this youth group. Now is one of the most important forwards. For me personally, he was my man of the match last night, O'Neill. There's no slight on anybody else, of course, but he was my man of the match. So when you have a debate about man of the match, and 3 of them are your forwards, that's a good evening. So if you have O'Connor, O'Brien, English, O'Neill, and you're saying which is man of the match, and all 3 are deserving, that's a sign of a good unit. And not one of them contains people who we class as regular all-star players. That's where the level of Limerick's riches are are envious. I'd be envious to be fair, because the Galway have a similar age profile and a lot of their forwards just don't carry the same level of influence.
So Murph, obviously you were there, Nolan Park today. See a lot of people in the comments saying, will Limerick and Tipperary want to face off a couple of weeks before they play in the championship? This is the nature of the league. And look, Jim McGuinness talked about in the football as well. It's far from ideal for them, potentially playing a league final and they're out against Derry the week afterwards, especially when you've got a game looming that's so big in the Munster Championship before it. I think both teams would like to get to the final. I think Cork would be seen probably as the favourites to get to the final at the moment. But I want to ask you about Tipperary, because every time we ask how good are Tip and how are we rating Tipperary at this stage, like there was some lovely hurling during that game. I think of McCarthy setting up Bushy McCormick for his goal. I like some of the directness from Tipperary during the game as well. Again, McCarthy hit his frees really well today, 12 points, 11 from frees. I thought, even if we can park the cards for a moment, Murph, I thought Tipperary were fairly impressive in what they did in Nolan Park. And I even saw someone get the joke in the dig in there, oh look, a team can win while 2 players down at Nolan Park, which was a nice callback to the final earlier this year. But what did you make of Tipperary?
I think they were good, really. Like from the start, they looked like they were out with, I suppose, real intent to go and win the match today. They made all the run-ins early in the game. Like they just looked like they were in it from the start. Now, something I noticed early, which probably wasn't picked up on telly, Kilkenny obviously opted to go for a puck out. Let's say when Barry Hogan was pucking it out, that they were going to step off their men, but like they stepped off them probably maybe by about 10 yards. And Tip were just coming out, getting the ball, turning very simple scores, popping them over the bar. The runner off the shoulder again. I think I saw a lot of Clare people saying that about up in Ennis. Clare weren't tracking the runners off the shoulder with Cork. Very similar thing inside in Kilkenny. Tip just seemed to have players off the shoulder that were turning up, popping balls over the bar. They didn't have a wide. They were very economical. They didn't have a wide till about the 27th minute. I had it in the card. So like even that in itself, like that's a great trait to have, that, okay, we maybe would like to, I heard Liam Calla saying we would have liked to be creating more chances, but what they were creating, they were taking, which was, they'll be really happy with. For the Craig Morgan goal, like it was simply just a case of simple line ball down the line, picked it up, ran through, and that's something Kilkenny won't be happy about. But again, from a Tipperary point of view, they can only play what's in front of them. And, that was just, I'll run at them and see what they do. And nobody really came to Craig Morgan, and he just hung it up really well. So for Tipperary, they just used the ball really well. Willie Connors came in off the bench. Noel McGrath came in off the bench. And you just felt that, regardless of whatever the cards were, that they were just a little bit more about it today. Their running game was really good as well. Like, their linking up, coming out with the ball as well was really good. And I just felt as well, the last thing that they kind of trumped Kilkenny on was just how they were feeding their forward line was just that bit better. Kilkenny were carrying the ball out till about the 45 and then doing kind of long diagonal balls where invariably Tipperary had 2 lads against 1 Kilkenny person, which is just not going to cut it. Whereas Tipperary were at least getting kind of popping the ball into a space that the Tipperary player was able to go out and go at, okay, maybe not winning all of them, but it was giving a Tipperary player an opportunity to win primary possession and then maybe go about either taking a score or leaving it off to another player. So, look, all around the field, Tipperary was just really impressive, and they'll be very happy that they've had a few tests so far in the champion or in the league, and they'll be very impressed, I think, with what they've taken from that, and particularly like Darren McCarthy there. Like, he's consistently just stayed performing really well. Owen Connolly at full back as well. Ronan Maher popped up with 2 points. Sam O'Farrell was good at wing back. Joe Caesar as well at midfield got through a lot. You could go around to a lot of players there. Barry Hogan's puckouts were really good as well if we're talking about keepers as well. So just all around the field there, I just thought that, yeah, look, they just motored really well, and even the lads who came in off the bench had a nice little impact. So they'll be very happy with what they've taken from the league so far.
Yeah, I appreciate what the club is saying here. Cal is known to have lads flying during the league. Jury's still out until we see what Tipperary do in the championship. Like, I take that point entirely, but we can only judge on what we've seen from Tipperary so far, Skehill. And like, if you were a Tip supporter right now, the position they're in, with a couple of rounds of games for some teams and a round to go for some teams, you'd be happy enough with where Tip are at, and you'd be happy enough, I think, with where this rebuild is going based on what we've seen so far.
Yeah, but if Tip had the same 15 out in the league now at present that they've had for years previous, and they were going well, you'd say, But they're putting in players that we haven't seen before, that we haven't seen got serious minutes, and they're having a huge influence. Like McCarthy now, is this his third man of the match, lads? In 5 rounds. Would that be fair to say?
Not sure.
I'm correct. He definitely is a couple anyway, yeah.
I think it is. I think he's third man of the match. I think he got man of the match against definitely man of the match against Kilkenny, obviously. Man of the match against Cork, wasn't he? 2 weeks ago, he was.
Who?
He's definitely top scorer that night. I think.
Darren
Darren
McCarthy.
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
Yeah, and I think man of the match can Galway too. Point being, right, is they're introducing young players to say who've never been through the league. Do you know what I mean? Who've never been through, a league or a championship campaign or the Skehill. So I take people's points absolutely. To say sometimes history is a habit of repeating itself, but in this instance, there's no evidence to say the Tip are going to fall off the edge of a cliff. They're moving well. Young players are really good. Murph went through them. Caesar, O'Farrell, Carty, all those guys are having influence. And lads who we saw in like last year and the year previous, not having to be called upon continuously. Garrett O'Connor, I think, was our player of the league last year, was he?
He was, yeah.
He's had a relatively quiet league campaign this year and still Tip a roll on. So they're in a good position, lads. Simple as that. I wouldn't. I hear what you're saying, but just walk before we run, okay?
Look, Comco Productions there is under wire Tipperary, having doubters around here with everything they're doing. Skehill openly admits he loves Tipperary, and he's just after speaking positively about them. So, cool the jets ever so slightly. By the way, the reason I'm going to stick this up is I just love this name, the O'Dwyer, Callan and McGrath. I know we were talking about this a few weeks ago. He brought up a comment about Tipperary in the comments itself, and it was like, I think we know where the supporter's coming from. Got a sneaky suspicion. Are Tip definitely in a league final? I don't think they're definitely qualified. Hold on, I have the table there somewhere.
I don't think anyone is definitely anywhere at this stage. You can't say 100%. No. I think Barrow or Wexford relegation.
If Galway beat Cork and Limerick win out, it's a Galway Limerick final.
That's right, yeah. So Limerick have only got 4 games played. They've got 5 points. Tip are on 8 with 5 played. So Tipperary will obviously play their last round with 8 on the board. It'd be crazy if they didn't get to a league final with 8 points in 5 games, but there is still a sequence of results that could knock them out. So yeah. Similarly at the bottom, Clare are not mathematically relegated just yet, even though it feels like they're done. And similarly, Wexford aren't.
I love all this crack. Like I heard someone trying to go through this. Like in fairness to Will, you are the best person. I'm not throwing flowers at you here now, but you're the best person that has a good grasp of explaining what is needed for one team to qualify. But there was 2 lads inside Nolan Park today, and it almost sounded like, well, if the wind blows from the west on Wednesday and there's a full moon, I think Wexford can get. And you're like, lads, will you stop? Will you there's so many permutations here that their lads are trying to explain it. I'm like, lads, if there's that many, just leave it off. Either just say one team is relegated or it's undecided yet. But Jesus, until it's the next day, that's it. That's it then. There's no team definitely gone yet. There's no team definitely in league final. So it's just kind of. But you can basically take it that Clare and Wexford are relegated.
Back to Gary Farrell here. So is it score difference or head-to-head? It's head-to-head if it's 2 teams that are level. If it's more than 2 teams who are level, and that's also still a possibility in 1A at the moment, it'll be so much clearer after the Limerick-Kilkenny game. It goes to scoring difference then at that stage. And that's why 1B, which we'll go on to in a second, is not complete yet, other than the fact that, as has been pointed, Offaly are definitely in 1A for 26, which they are.
Crack of the ash.
I was still, for anyone who was following our percentages, I think even when Dublin were 10 points up, I'm pretty sure I said to Skehill, I've only got it around 89%. Carlo could easily come back and get something from this game. So,
I'm enjoying P. Wells' comment there. Joanne is on, lads. I.e. the Sunday game is now on.
Wrap it up, let's wrap it up.
That's fair enough, right? If you want to go and watch League Sunday, by all means, I think we can have a bit of a conversation around 1A. Well, there you go. Take Damien Cowell's point, because all you want to avoid it. Who are the 3 to come out of both Munster and Leinster this year? Go on. He made his JFK joke. He made you laugh.
Okay, Murph, I'll take Leinster, you take Munster. Go.
You're some man, aren't you? You're a great lad. I
think about it for a second. Waterford improved their scoring difference today. They sure did by scoring 734. Waterford won't have to worry about scoring difference though. They avoid defeat against Offaly in the last round. It's in their own hands. But anyway, before we go to 1B, who's getting out of Leinster? Who's getting out of Munster?
Oh, we're doing it. I said on the members pub that I felt it was too busy of a week to be at this. But
just do it.
Great. Look at you.
Forget about it. We'll talk about this in a few weeks' time.
Oh no, I'm
going to remember. This isn't going to be like last year when we were called the 3 fucking nobodies. And
I'm not concerned about that. Like you're used to off the ball doing ranking hurling teams every other week, and it's like
to do it every 3 weeks. So
what has really changed? Oh, switch.
Limerick Cork chip.
Oh, I just realised we left.
I said it. I just said it.
He just went for it. It was like out of nowhere. There was no consideration. It was just there. You go. So Clare aren't getting out. That's your headline.
I didn't say it. I didn't say it.
Well, you did in fact say it by not saying it.
Can we revisit this in a month's time, please?
You were the one who brought it up.
I didn't bring it up. Some other guy brought it up. Whoever it was.
Everyone's mad for it. Look, people are putting their predictions in there at the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they won't get lambasted for it. We will. That's the trouble.
They probably won't. Come on, Richard. You can't have
Can't do that.
Dublin,
You can't pick
Dublin
14.
/ Wexford. That's not.
Yeah. That's Offaly.
Dublin / Wexford / Offaly. Yeah.
Will, are we going to Kilkenny, Galway, Offaly?
No. I don't think Offaly will get out with Leinster, no.
Okay.
I don't. Like, let's be realistic here. I mean, this is the thing. I put them, I think, 9th in the power rankings last week on Off the Ball Breakfast, and I was getting people turning around to me going, surely you'd have them a bit higher than that. Like, why would they be higher than that? They're just getting out of 1B. Everyone's happy. This is all going well. They're out with the McDonagh and they're going into Leinster Championship. But no. I'd be happy enough if they beat Antrim in the last game and stayed up by a point in the last day. Staying up. That's what it's about.
Jeez,
Let's not be crazy here.
Yeah.
Offaly will get out, according to Joseph Nash. I'm not so sure. All right. Kilkenny versus Tip is the first game of League Sunday. So
Murph, who's on Munster?
Right.
I don't want a big explanation. Just give me the 3 teams and we'll move on.
I'm going to take your swear jar here. I'm fucking thinking, right? All right. Limerick. Okay.
Yep.
Cork.
Oh.
And my heart or my head are not telling me anything here. I'm going to say Limerick, Cork, and
This
Clare.
fucking drum roll can't go on forever. Come on.
Clare.
Clare.
I'll go with Clare. And little asterisks, I'll change my mind in 3 weeks.
You can always change your mind. There's a few other comments that are here between.
Wait, hold on. Hold on. You're not getting away with this.
Yeah,
William J.
comments,
O'Callaghan.
You're part of this now, my friend. Go on.
Yeah. You're not allowed your only comments can't just be, Offaly are great. Come on.
Right now, Limerick, Cork, Tipperary.
I'm afraid now because Will is usually right.
Leinster,
I don't win.
Kilkenny, Galway, Dublin. But I'm starting to have a few doubts about Dublin in the last few weeks. I definitely felt a lot more about them recently. But then you saw a few returning players coming in against Carlow, did the job this time round. I think they beat Laois in the last round. I think they'll look back at 2 games where they got red cards, and particularly the Offaly game at Croke Park, they probably should have won. If they did, they'd be in 1A for next season. So we could kind of be overreactive to 1 or 2 results here. I still think Dublin have got a fairly strong panel. I still fancy them to get out. But I do have comments in from Wexford supporter as well. Just an interesting one that you can take here, Skehill, coming from Banner Rising 95. What a name on Twitter. Lay question for the lads. Are we in need of a new fullback? And that is obviously Clare. Thank God the Clare darts final is on tonight. I need a few points after that performance. So do Clare need to make a change of fullback? Assuming that Conor Cleary would be the starting fullback normally.
Yeah, he started today, and I think just they took him over for his own, I suppose, mental state and sake, because first game back in a while, the Cork pace in the forwards was exceptional. They moved him out further and further. He ended up at one stage, I think, at midfield, Murph. They took him right out and put it in, and then took him off. Are they needed a fullback? They won the Ireland last year with them, and I know I've been critical of them. I really have. I know I've been critical. I'm aware of that. But like we've had him go in previous years, if you take him out, who do you put in his place? Do you have to go back to like the 2013 setup where you had McInerney in fullback? Is that what you have to go back to? Like did they try Darrell Lohan there? Is he the answer? I don't know. I don't think he's a good hurler. So I think you go with the trial and test it, and make the decision in 5 weeks' time, not after today, after his first game back. Genuinely.
No, you can't.
Yeah. Like he won the Ireland last year at fullback, so credit where credit is due.
So it turns out that not that Tommy Walsh. So we've had the OG Tiago Silva, not that Tommy Walsh. I like where our listeners are kind of getting nicknames through us just reading out their comments during the year. This one came in from Spotify. So last week I was saying, hey, hit us up in the Spotify comments. Opened it up earlier. There was like 5 or 6 of them in there. So happy days. So this is not that Tommy Walsh. Turns out a Wexford fan. I think Wexford actually have a great opportunity to experiment against Antrim first round of the Leinster Championship. I think plan A for us should be Rory O'Connor out in midfield, Lee Chin at centre forward, and play Jack O'Connor at full forward. So that'd be obviously Jack O'Connor getting fit. I'm not saying we should play a long ball into Jacko every time, but he's a tremendous option for, say, a Richie Lawler driving out from half back to flight one in. I think Jacko's style could cause any fullback problems. So again, I think that's one where Wexford, when they have everyone fit, need to just work out where everyone fits in. So not having all that personnel available because of injury has not helped for them during it as well. There was also one on the gloves which came up from last week. I'm not sure, was it the members pod or the main pod we're done about Ashguards last week?
I don't know. I can't
Main
remember.
pod, but possibly.
I'd be inclined to say it's probably the one that the comment is on.
It must be the main pod. So they meld into each other sometimes. Darrow Donovan, Conor Whelan, shouts for guys who still wear gloves at this stage. And we TJ as well. They were the main ones with the gloves, weren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, not too many left.
Kieran Joyce.
Kieran Joyce. Good shout. Very good shout there. Okay.
Joe Rabbit.
Right. Now we went back.
Yeah.
We
thought we'd talk current players, but okay, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Still DJ's the big favourite on this. 1B this weekend. Obviously, Offaly promoted is the only thing that we have for sure, and Westmeath have been relegated after what happened at the weekend just gone by. So good win for Dublin against Carlow, 229 to 317. Very much Dublin on top for most of this game. Donald Burke with 9 points. You had Brian Hayes, the other Brian Hayes, and David Purcell among 11 different scorers for Dublin across the game, which is very impressive. Marty Kavanagh got 1-1 off the bench for Carlow. Chris Nolan 1-1. James Doyle with 5 points, 3 from frees. So Marty Kavanagh wasn't starting, so he was on the frees during the game. Other than really a kind of a spell, I was into Tom Mullally's interview on KCLR. When Dublin maybe dropped out of the game a little bit, it felt that Carlow kind of got a little bit back into the game, but then there was a strong final quarter from Dublin as well. So Dublin have to play Laois in the last game. Mathematically, they're not out of the promotion race, but it's in Waterford's hands after Waterford's win today. Also coming in, you Danny Sutcliffe getting his first game for Dublin since 2023. So that is it's a bit of a boost. Conor McHugh used to be on the football panel. He was in to play this game as well. So I know they've lost Owen O'Donnell along the way, Skehill.
He's fully gone, is he? O'Donnell?
He's fully gone, yeah. He's playing the inside forward line for the footballers, yeah. But
Yeah.
they're getting a bit extra in now. This panel is deepening a little bit.
Yeah, look, I think last year was a good year for them in the sense that I know it was Mihals last year, but getting out of Leinster, we thought last year was a good starting block and a plus. And we've referenced before when you think back to the Cork game, like they had opportunities. So there's definitely quality in this panel, and the more players they get back, obviously the better. What's their ceiling though? That's the question I always ask with Dublin, because sometimes they have a good year, a bad year, a good year, a bad year. I know you can say the same for Galway. Don't get me wrong, right? Don't get me wrong. But I just never know with them. I just don't know with them. You know, athleticism is always high. S&C is high. Strength is high. You know what I mean? If they have their full complement, they can be a really dangerous outfit. But I just don't know with them. I can't put my finger on. That's why if you ask me who's coming out of Leinster at this moment, I'm going to say Galway, Kilkenny, and I honestly don't know who the third is. I don't have a clue. I don't know what's Wexford ceiling is on the roster. They're coming into this championship season. Offaly, they're flying high in 1B at the moment. Things are all positive. I'm playing a bit of a joke here. The messaging for a bit of crack. I don't think they're coming out of Leinster. Antrim is a no. So Dublin, I just don't know. I don't know what's in front of you with them, because they have the potential to turn you over in any given day, but then you could turn them over by 15 points.
Yeah, I saw a couple of comments there wondering about where Antrim are at. Well, look, Antrim are probably going to be fine. They're not quite 100% safe, because you could still end up with a scenario where Laois and Carlow get to 6 points, but you're looking at unlikely results for that to happen. But Antrim opened up today, despite the virus that was in the camp during the week. They won 422 to 21 points against Laois. James McNaughton has been shooting the lights out for Antrim during the league so far, even in some of the poor performances they had. 2-11 for him today. Connor Johnson with 1-2. Keelan Malloy scoring a goal as well. Laois, it just never really got going for them during the match in Corrigan Park. 9 points from Aaron Dunphy was their main contribution, but Laois are now in a situation where there's just no safety net whatsoever. They have to beat Carlow this coming Saturday. That's a lunchtime game, because apparently both counties didn't want a double header, so it's going to be at 1:45. Laois are playing Clare in the evening in the football. You would have thought it would have benefited Laois to have maybe a bigger crowd in by having a double header, but they're going to be 2 single games, I'm told. And Antrim have just got to put the feet up and see what happens over the next 2 games. Carlow have to win to have any chance of promotion after that defeat against Dublin, and Carlow would also have to beat Westmeath and then hope that an Offaly team with no motivation beat Waterford in the last game. But it's still not strictly over, even though it looks like Waterford are very much on the cusp. I did want to play you some Davy Fitz though, Skell, because I know you love listening to some Davy Fitz. And this is what he had to say earlier. And the reason I'm picking this out is I think this is no coincidence that Davy Fitz has used a phrase that was used by your mate Éanna Ryan. Wait and see.
I think we were by far the better team today. We switched off for 15 minutes in the second half, and then we decided we'd go at it again. But in general, I thought our work rate, and I think our work rate today was phenomenal. And the 3 games that we lost, well, the problem I had is our work rate deteriorated when we went down 7.5 points.
So there you go, Skell. Is there any chance he might listen to this podcast when he says he's going to go at it again? Or is he just a big Paddy Losty fan?
That's a loaded question now. Congrats on the victory, Antrim. That's all I'm saying. You're not going to try and draw me out, Will. Too long the truth of that now.
Season 1, I might have caught you on that one.
Oh, season 1, I was hook, line, and sinker for a full 6-minute answer. Right now, all we're getting is congrats, Antrim. Next question.
I don't know, Murph. I think this is far too much of a coincidence given that Paddy Losty went back into the national consciousness this week.
Yeah, we resurrected him, but yeah, it's a funny one. There's a few things here. As I said, it could be a Freudian slip where he heard it and he didn't even know he put it back in. He could be deliberately. It could be subliminal messages like trying to send them out to us, or maybe it's us. Maybe the fact that we're now in Paddy Losty mode. We're hearing Paddy everywhere. So I don't know. The jury's out.
I couldn't believe it. I nearly spat out my drink when I was listening to it earlier on. So I clicked the interviews. I wasn't expecting a huge amount from it. I went,
the one thing I will give you, it is. We'll go at it again. It is literally that. Like, so, it's brilliant. It's brilliant.
Quite literally. I did see a couple there asking about whether the virus story might have been just a story. Davey talked about that in the interview a little bit later on as well. So he said that they had 15 players who were unable to train last week because of the virus, and he said 4 or 5 of them couldn't train on Friday. And he said that was probably the thing that pleased him the most, is that they actually turned around and got a result after that happening during the week. So they've got their break week coming up. So they don't play until they're finished. Sorry, they're declared at this point after their 5 games. So they're the team with the break week at the end. Just when I look at the table here. And then, this is bad. This is real bad. To the point that Westmeath GA was having a quick look earlier on. They've turned off the comments on their Facebook, which is usually a sign it's gone to shit. Waterford won 7-34 to 24 points against Westmeath. The commentary team on Midlands 103 earlier today, it got so bad that they were checking the records to see what was the biggest total that Westmeath had ever conceded. You ever get a game like that where it's just gone so one-sided that you're actually having to check the records? It's not a good sign. 731 was the previous record. That was Kilkenny in the 1980s against them. Waterford got 734. They just opened up. Kevin Manny won 6. Stephen Bennett scored 10 points. 8 were frees, but he had a hand in a few of the other goals. Patrick Hearn with 1-2. Desi Hutchinson with 1-4 from play. Charlie Treen scored 2 goals and 3 points. They got Ozzie Gleeson back onto the pitch, which is probably important when it comes to their prospects further down the year. Tig de Burka, Peter Creeley was saying on the radio afterwards, is probably going to get some game time against Offaly in the last round. You would presume they'll get to a league final. He'll get some more time into the more time into the legs, I should say, in that last game as well. Like, I don't know. It's a pretty disgusting beating Skehill to see handed out in Division 1. Even if this is 1B as opposed to Division 1 formal, you don't want to see teams getting 7-34 put on them.
So what can you say, Will? So what does it do for the sport in general? Nothing. What does it do for the sport in the county? It does nothing. It sets them back. It puts focus on the other sports, if you ask me. It's an awful beating, and the question, it bears the question, what's going on? What's going on? The teams are shifting. Teams can be like Westmeath are competitive, really competitive, let's say, over the last couple of years, and then this happens because what's transpired over the last 3 or 4 months in Westmeath has been really poor, to be honest. Hold on, what you put up there? Davey with what?
Davey would take the shirt off Skehill back. That was obviously a Paddy Losty one.
Will you stop? I'd fold him like a deck chair. Jesus Christ. What do you want to say? What's that? Westmeath. Not good for Westmeath. What can you say about it? Waterford getting back into a groove again.
Yeah. Leinster Championship now to going down to Division 2A, very, very short period of time. It's not that long ago we were complimenting the win away from home against Wexford. They were 16 points down in that game, came back and won. Had drawn against Wexford a few years back as well. I think that was 21. And now here we are, 26. They're going to be in Division 2A, which is looking like a bit of a mess, that division as well, with some of the one-sided results that have happened. But I want to say congratulations to one of our keenest listeners, certainly Paul Murphy's favourite fan, in Trevor Fletcher, who's involved with Down at the moment. And no doubt he's either watching us live on the way back from Kerry after Down's win today, or he'll be listening to us on the way to training some team in Galway or Down tomorrow. So we'll definitely get a message from Fletcher.
Or he's out in the hedge in my back garden looking in because he's a stalker.
That's very possible. Involved with St. Thomas's this year, so he's coming for Skehill as well along the way. But well done to him and Ronan Sheehan and Down. So 15 years since they've played in Division 1 proper. A few years ago, they got very close and lost to Westmeath in a Division 2A final, and the feeling was that maybe that was the chance to get to Division 1 lost a little bit. When you talk about rises and so on, Down beat Offaly in a Christy Rings semi-final in the year 2020. and now Offaly are going to Leinster Championship, and Down are going up to 1B for next year. So I think congratulations to them is in order for the consistent form that they've shown to get that wrapped up with a round of games to go. So Down going up to Division 1B for next season. The rest of 1B still has to be decided. Again, I was trying to do the maths, which Murph alluded to there. So the way things sit at the top, Offaly 9 points, promoted, 4 wins, 1 draw. Don't have to worry about the last round. I don't know what they do with that last round, because it's probably Waterford in the league final, which is the week that their under-20s will be playing the first round away to Galway. So that's a decision to be made. I believe quite a few of their under-20s went in to play a challenge game this weekend, so that would indicate that they've been given a clean run to play there. Dublin are on 6 points from 5 games. So Dublin can still potentially get to 8, the same total as Waterford. They're behind Waterford on head-to-head. So for Dublin to have a chance, they need Carlow to win their last 2 games and get to 8 and make it a 3-way playoff. But look at Waterford's scoring difference, plus 56 at the moment. Like, I think it's fair to say they've got a foot and 3/4 into the final at this stage. And if they avoid defeat, they're 100% in. And then bottom of the table, it's like a mini table as well. So Westmeath are down 5 defeats from 5. They play Carlow away from home in the last round. Laois have to win their last 2 games realistically, I think, to stay up. They definitely have to beat Carlow, because Carlow are sitting on 4, Laois are sitting on 2. Antrim technically aren't entirely out of the mire. They're sitting 5 points from 6. I thought they were actually mathematically safe, but it's a good point with the game in hand. Carlow and Laois could both technically get to 6 points, which would see Antrim go down on the last day because they've played their 6. So tricky times, lads. The 2 games we're looking at this weekend, we will preview them on the members pod. So I think we've probably reached the end of the questions here. Let the others argue. Down in Kildare will add an interesting dynamic to 1B for next year. Yeah, that's a fair point. Because I knocked myself off there as I was trying to put up that comment. Sorry about that. There we go.
Cam 6511, chill. Jeez, that's a load of questions to come in. No. Last question.
I don't.
No.
I don't think we can really get into that. I don't. Neither of you, by the way, without naming, experienced that along the way, did you?
Never. Nah, not at all. Never. No. Like, I mean, you talk about other sports there of like, and it's kind of even, to be honest, ridiculous even getting into it. Sports where there's multi-million and billion euros in it, right? That's one thing, but like, not at all.
But even Murph, the skill base is too high here in hurling.
Yeah, it doesn't
makes no difference. Yeah,
makes no difference. No, and the injuries players are picking up as well. Like, as in that's just pure attrition. Like,
and we will finish out. And this is a tangent I didn't expect right at the end of it. So thanks a lot, Cam 6511. Is testing reasonably prevalent in GAA, or is it just random after game tests?
It's random to an extent. Like, so my understanding is that the team selection is random. You let them know where you're going to be training for, like, I don't know how long the period is. Maybe it's 6 months or maybe it's 3 months or whatever. You let them know they can turn up. You could get tested twice in a year, maybe 3 times. You could get tested once. You mightn't get tested at all. I can't really remember. I always do remember them turning up. But for lads, if lads want to know exactly how to get tested, so you come in off a pitch, come in off from training, or come in off a match, and literally there's a fella standing or a girl standing at the fella standing at the edge of the because you know where I'm going with this. Standing at the edge of the field. I've been testing myself. Standing at the edge of the field, introduces themselves, saying, "Listen, you're about to be drug tested. Do you consent to being drug tested?" You say, "Yeah, that's fine." And now, obviously, the way that they actually pick it, in my understanding, the way they pick the players is, let's say you have a panel of 36. You have 36 numbers on the list, and you have your names randomly allotted to numbers on the list. They overturn like 4 or 5 names, or 4 or 5 numbers, and those numbers which correlate to a name on the list, that's who's picked. That person then is standing there in rain gear for a reason, because they follow you into the dressing room. They stand beside you, right beside you the whole time as you're changing. You go into the shower, they go into the shower, stand beside you in the shower. And eventually when you give the sample, they are looking at you give the sample. So that's to the level that it goes. And like the one example I'll give of players have to give example, two of our lads, I think back around 2012, had to give samples after, I think it was a tip semi-final. But they're like, you're tired after the game, you're dehydrated. Your sample has to be not too hydrated and not too dehydrated. It has to be in the middle. So players end up, like 2 players end up drinking water and having to walk around the field in Croke Park, because apparently that helps in terms of getting it into the system and so on. So the testing is like, fit for purpose. It's rigorous. But actually the reality of it is it's very like I was saying, a lad goes in with the shower in the rain gear, you shower, and then they follow you in afterwards to the toilet, and they prove that it's you that's giving the sample. And that's it. That's what GA players are.
For audio listeners, the question was whether GA players are using performance enhancers. Were you ever tested, Skehill?
7 or 8 times.
Oh.
Yeah, so when they say it's random, I'm not so sure. The year I did the program with Colin Cannon, the same year as Rain and Ryan in 2015, I was tested 5 times.
No, it is random because it just happened to be, I can think one player for us that was
Yeah.
like, jeez, it's not me again. Like,
5 times, Murph.
Go
5
ahead.
times. 3 in training, 2 after games.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, 5 fucking, and that's because I was at the time.
Do you know what they probably did? You were probably number 1 on the list, and the lad goes, I shall turn over 1. Thinking, this could be Conor Cooney. Oh no, it's Skehill again. All right, yeah.
But they go right beside you. They're looking over your shoulder. Chuck it away.
Catherine Coughlin, would the black currant my waddy get you banned? I tell you, no. I'll give you one for example. I know players were advised to not take a certain, let's say, we'll call it like Lemsip or Baraka or something like that. It was one of those. I think it was Lemsip.
Lemsip was Lemsip.
Lemsip. You're not allowed to take a Lemsip.
Can't take
because there's one or two things. It'll either make you fail a drug test or it's packaged in a factory of the potential that it could be cross-contaminated. So when a GA player gets sick, they can't take a Lemsip because they may fail a drugs test. So literally, when you were dying in the bed from a flu, you're onto the nutritionist and to the doctor saying, what can I take, what can't I take? And usually the good stuff you can't take because you'll fail a drugs test. So that's actually something that maybe people don't know about, that lads have to be so stringent about what they're taking and not taking in terms of, like, you take a Lemsip, no way. Yep, you could fail a drugs test for taking a Lemsip.
From memory, I think it has something that's potentially could identify up as a masking agent. I think was the reason why people weren't allowed to use it. So, but yeah, I mean, you need to 100% go to your team doctor and go, I'm thinking of taking this, and get pure approval that you can, or otherwise you'll run into trouble there.
And the last one, dangerous one is young fellas getting protein from China or something. That's the lethal one. That's the one where they just throw stuff into it to bulk it up. And like, obviously, if a fella's taking protein, they want to see results, and hopefully they'll buy it again. You know, somebody in a factory halfway across the world will throw random stuff into it. But go on anyway. Skehill looks like
Paul Shaughnessy, who has his own podcast, who could easily have asked Skehill on, but he's getting a free hit for us by asking on our podcast here, wants to know, who does Skehill see coming into the Galway team for championship from the team that started last night?
Ooh, I go to the team. So I'll say Derek Fahy will be in goals. Darren Morrissey will be playing. Fincher Burke will be playing. Shane Morgan is 50-50. Park Mannion will be playing. Gavin Lee will be playing. I'm going to say Michael Garvey is going to be playing. Tom Mann will be playing. Keane Fahy will be playing. David Burke won't be playing. Tiernan Clean is 50-50. Kevin Cooney won't be playing. Conor Whelan will. Conor Cooney will be. Anthony Burns is 70-30. So who's to come in for that? Carl Mannion has to come in for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
Where does Carl Mannion play in the team now?
Well, I put him in midfield, to be honest, yeah.
Okay.
Midfield or centre forward. That's the furthest I put him up. He's too good to be anywhere else. Then Sean Lands in with the shout to come in. I would say, that's a tough question. You caught me in the spot now.
That's the point of the questions.
That is the point of the question, to catch in the spot, isn't it? Brian Cannon probably starts.
Okay.
As a half forward. And I'll have to revert back to him with the rest. I'd say, I think you should, I think if I'm looking for young lads, I think there's a chance that Rory Burke, Jason Rabbit, Aaron Ireland all feature, but not starting. They're under 20 at the moment. I think they've all got the potential to play, but not start.
Do they get left? I see someone obviously asking about Liam Collins as well, who I know. Look, you know him firsthand, how good he is. Is Liam Collins going to be close to it? Liam
Collins has left the squad.
Right.
Left of his own accord.
Okay.
So everyone has their reasons. As far as I'm concerned, he just wasn't enjoying it. Simple as that. Was going through a bit of an injury process. You know, I just wasn't enjoying it. Mixed with Fitzgibbon, so he just took a break.
Right. Because he's always looked like he has big talent. I mean, he was very good for you last year as well.
He's top class. He's been super for us last year in the club championship. I thought he'd kick on. But just you know, I find like when you go into an interconference season, like things have to roll for you. You have to roll for you. Like you have to get, when you get a chance in the game time, you have to roll for you. Like he played against Tipperary in the first round of the league. Did reasonably well, you could say. Then he got injured. Then he got sick. Let's say in the next challenge game. Then he couldn't get back in the team because other guys were going so well, like Burns, Declan McLaughlin, etc. And then it just became, you know, a bit of a too hard of a slog at the time. So I'd say he'd be back in. You know, I'd say next year. His Galway career certainly is not finished. He's too good for that. But this year is a pass.
Okay. On the performance answers, I may as well come out of this before we come to the end of it. There's only one player who played GA who ever told me that they had. and I'm obviously not going to out who he is now at this stage. He's not playing inter-county, and he got spooked when he was in Croke Park and was about to get tested. And at that point, he kind of just quit and actually left the panel at that stage. But
Football
he
hurler.
was
Definitely football.
it was a footballer, yeah. And again, this could be a wide amount of people. Like I've asked loads of people about it. Obviously, it's up to them if they ever want to go on the record about it. But this was very much an off the record thing, and that's why I'm saying it could be any footballer across the country. But he was taking him for recovery. Was the reason he was doing it, as opposed to the way some lads would take it for, trying to get particularly lean bulked or whatever else ahead of a championship or whatever. He was taking it to try and accelerate his recovery to get back for championship. And then early championship game, I think the guy beside him got pulled in for a drug test in Croke Park, and he was just like, I'm out. Like, he actually dropped himself off the panel at that stage. That was the only reason I found out about it. I found out about a year or two after he finished playing inter-county. But he felt like he was cheating everyone else by doing it.
Yeah.
But when he went to do it, his feeling was that he thought other people are probably doing this, because it was recommended to him by a nutritionist that actually this is something he should look into to try and accelerate his recovery.
A nutritionist.
Yeah.
So a person in a professional capacity recommends it to him.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure the stuff that he bought online as well. So it was
And
a case of,
when you say nutritionist, Will, you're not talking about the team nutritionist? Just
No, it wasn't someone from the team.
Okay.
I think it was someone from a gym that he had gone to, or someone he knew through the gym that, had a certain amount of expertise about it. And he was struggling to get back for the start of championship and decided to go and pick it up. And he was told that, like, a lot of, say, the football teams were using something very similar to the stuff that he was using.
Jesus.
So obviously he was trying to cut corners getting back at that point. But he quit the panel, I think, that championship year. So hasn't played in county for a long time now.
What county is that?
No, I'm not saying that.
Desk.
Absolutely not. But that is the only player who ever has. And I know if people are saying, Derek, go on, tell us who it is and whatever. No. Like it's a good while since he's played inter-county. This is a long time ago now at this stage. But it's the only player I ever heard that said they had actually gone, sought out performance enhancers and had purchased them and used them. So there you go.
Okay.
That's a wonderful end to the podcast, isn't it? Yeah. If you enjoyed this one, we'll do another live, I think, probably closer to the league final, but we said thought we'd sneak one in. The members pod will be out tomorrow morning as well, because we already have it recorded, where we talk about head hits and the reason to protect players and so on. If people who are in here at the moment, it's been great to have you join us. There's been a good conversation going on in the comments along the way. If you could leave us a like on the way out, that will help the video to fly up people's algorithms. Similarly, if you're listening to us on any of your podcast formats, I have been checking them for the comments the last few weeks. The Spotify was particularly busy last week, so you can leave us a comment there. You can leave us a comment in the YouTube itself, and we'll get to it next week. And Paul Murphy, it's been a pleasure. Thanking you.
Thanks very much, lads.
All right. And James Skehill, thanking you, sir.
Thanks, guys.
All right.
Enjoyable.
As to all the listeners and viewers who've been watching along, we'll see you again very soon.
Will.
I'm closing it down, Skehill. Give me a second. There you go. End stream.